one second. Go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Westeros. We are coming at you live via the Shadowcasters Network uh, to return to Dorne and see what sort of shenanigans the young scions of House Nymaryen can get up to. Before we kick off with our usual introductions and kind of where we left off, I do want to toss in a disclaimer. You all may have noticed that the world is ending in slow motion all around us. So more people than normal are hanging out online and using stuff like Twitch and Discord. So if we have any video upsets, any audio choppiness, etc., Discord is under a lot of pressure right now, but Discord is doing its best. So we need to be good friends and support it and love it. And we're just going to be doing the best we can with the hardware that we got. The only other small disclaimer is Discord did also update so that it moves everybody's stuff around. So if our little Brady Bunch grid pattern starts to get out of whack midstream and Erica bebops into this spot and all that, we're not trading characters. Though that would be maybe kind of a fun episode, right? But we're not doing that yet. It's just Discord updated midweek and we're still working out some kinks. So speaking of kinks, let's go to Ash because he'll be the most flustered from that intro. So, hey, Ash, who are you? Who's your character? And who's going to introduce themselves next?
Damn you, Rusty. Hi, I'm Ash. I play Adam Nymaryen, and where we left off, Adam had been putting a lot of arrows into a very big dude. And yeah, so that was fun. So I think next person should be my big bro. Fuck.
Hi everybody, I'm Robert. I'm playing Lucaris. I was not shooting big dudes with arrows.
No.
I was stabbing them with my spear. Let's do just continue walking order. Let's go to Bela.
We're very
No,
brief.
Let's
go to Reyna first.
Yeah, let's go to Reyna because Bela's got the funniest cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We actually had just emerged victorious from combat, which is why my brothers just said the last thing they were doing was hurting people. But we had defeated the Butcher and his minions, of which there were altogether far too many. And we were in caves, and it was awful. We were basically like D&D people who had just killed like 30 goblins all in one room, if you can imagine what that was like. I know where we are. And Reyna had been in the front line as a shield person and took a lot of hits, not on purpose. So she had backed up a bit to give up some of the front weight to someone a little more sturdy. And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to Bela.
So I'm Erica, and I play Bela. And yeah, we had been sent. Well, I sent us here. I had us come to this cave network to hunt down the Butcher, who's the lieutenant for the Vulture King. The Vulture King is causing lots of problems in the area, and a lot of nobles and houses are joining together to take down the big Vulture King. And so we've been going after a few of the lieutenants leading up to a big battle that'll be coming up in a couple of days. And then, so yeah, we came into this cave and we fought off some little goons, some basic spearmen, some had javelins they were throwing at us, but we held a tight formation under my leadership. We brought Balin Swan along with us, and we had oh shoot, there was one other person and my mind is blanked. Can someone help me?
Mormont, Alisane.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Alisane Mormont was also with us, and she was very ferocious and got quite a few kills herself. And Balin Swan did very admirably, and then the enormous brute of a guy came out, and he was putting a walloping on us. Well, more specifically, was walloping on Balin Swan, and through a few concerted efforts, we were able to shoot him with arrows and stab him a few times with spears, and a few hammers from Balin Swan, and a finishing blow by yours truly. And then once all the blood was settled and the viscera on the ground with blood covering all of us, some of us injured, Balin Swan is down on one knee with an injury to his side. He's holding it, and he asks for my hand in marriage. And that's where it ended.
Yes, while everybody's in this chamber where not quite 30 goblins, but actually 21 human people, 21, and one of them
That's
had
like
massive,
40 goblins.
right?
Right.
So in this one cave chamber with all the mess of 21 bodies spread out on the floor, there at the end, as Bela kind of took the place of Sir Balin Swan there at the end, and then got the killing blow on Sir Wayland the Butcher. In the moments afterwards, the eerie calm after the storm, and everybody's grimacing in pain and breathing heavily and catching their breath. Sir Balin Swan, I believe the exact phrase was, "I've never seen a woman fight like you, milady. Will you marry me?"
Oh.
So, not quite a flash mob, but there was kind of a mob.
Yeah.
And we're gonna pick up right from there, like that moment of Sir Balin Swan kind of resting on he's down like on a crouch on one knee. He's got the head of his morning star on the ground, kind of holding him up. One hand's on his belly where he got gouged pretty good with a big ass sword, and he has just asked Bela for a formal military and social alliance between their houses because of dead ass.
So I turned to look at
And the
it.
way she handled that spear.
Yes, that's a very important skill.
And we all look at Bela like,
I think that comes
doing
under.
it?
I think that comes under the umbrella of being badass.
So I turned to look at him, and I'm breathing heavy from the strenuous fight, and I say, I would be honored, Sir Balin. We must speak to my father about this, of course. Or grandfather, rather.
For a moment, you could see his cheeks flush red, and it might just be that his brain is working on about a 6-second delay. But it's not a red face from the exertion and adrenaline of combat. It's like it just kind of hit him, like what he asked and how brazenly. And he gets this, moment, this flush of embarrassment or excitement or both. And then he settles his features again in that kind of grim knightly countenance, clenching his teeth, that lantern jaw, looking carefully neutral and formal. And he's hauling himself to his feet. It's like, yes, of course. And I to my father, all in due time. And
I
he kinda
rushed to
looks-
help him up.
And he looks a little nervously around the room. He's able to be most of the way to his feet before you could get there. He's sucking on a couple of wounds, but he's not in awful shape. But yeah, everybody's pretty, well, not everybody, but lots of you are pretty scuffed up from this. he is in the worst shape of everyone, I believe. But that was a pretty nasty fight.
So is that actually a sort of a social faux pas to kind of just present that out in the open without going through like the proper channels?
Mhm.
A bit of one.
Okay.
It's not as bad as it could have been. Like it's not the rudest thing to do, you know. But yes, it was very much a putting the cart before the horse type of thing, and a moment of kind of
Levity.
emotional vulnerability, let's say, and kind of sincerity that is
Yeah,
maybe
there's a
not
lot of high emotion
expected.
at the end of one of those things, of one of those, you almost died kind of thing, and this beautiful Valkyrie comes and swoops in.
Now it could be worse. Neither of you are firstborns, and neither of you are like already betrothed. So he wasn't like, you should run off with me, like there wasn't quite that level of of social misstep, but it was very unusual for certain.
Okay.
But then I won't draw attention to it, although I really want to.
Shall
I'm
we
gonna get,
explore the rest of the caves? Maybe find if there's anything
Any
valuable.
trappers?
It takes some time, and it's some tense time, because you're kind of having to do some Westerosi Navy SEAL room by room in Afghanistan type of stuff in these caves. But you eventually realize that was the lot of them. You see bedrolls and other kind of detritus for more than the roughly 20 guys that you guys just killed. So it looks like this was a larger camp until recently. Like there's one whole chamber that the insides of it are kind of streaked with soot, and they clearly had like some cook fires going in there at one point for more people and things like that. But yeah, it looks like most of them left, and this was maybe the butcher's kind of personal band um, that were the last to leave. They wanted to, stay and take care of the last of stuff. But it does seem like these chambers are now yours. You find one book, and that is a copy of the famous strategic treatise on the invasion of Dorne, written by one of your Nymaryen ancestors, or sorry, one of your Targaryen ancestors, about the conquest of Dorne, even though it kind of didn't work out. In Westerosi terms, that's kind of like Julius Caesar's letters about the conquest of Gaul, right? It's that same sort of thing. In as much as they have a strategy book, kind of that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I call dibs.
Oh yeah.
So
More power to you.
I'm going to escort. Oh, this is good. I'm going to escort Balin out, and I'll make a comment. Come on for it in full. Let's get you out of these caves. Make sure you live to see your wedding day.
Yeah, he gives you a bit of a chuckle at that. But yeah, he's able to make his way outside. As you step out into the harsh and glaring sun after the dimness in there, the first thing you see is little Robert Frey drawing down on you. He's in a decent little spot with like partial cover from part of the rock canyon.
I consider dropping Balin out of just comedy as I raise my hands, but I will put one hand up and hold it up with the other one.
But yeah, it's like the horses are off to one side and he's off on the other. So like if anybody came out and was trying to leave, he'd have them like flank. Like he's got good, hunter's instincts going on, and he immediately, releases the strain on the bowstring and scurries over to help out, and he's got a very wide-eyed look on his face, like eyes like saucers, and his voice almost cracks. He goes, "Are you the only two?"
No, everyone's fine. injuries, but no deaths.
Oh, my sweet baby.
Oh, all right, and my lady as well.
She seemed fine as I left the cave. She may have a few scrapes on her. This one took the brunt of the damage, though.
He moves to kind of help on Balin Swan's other side, which is to say, like, he can carry the Morning Star. Like he's propping up Balin Swan. But yeah, he's able. Balin eventually is able to kind of wave you both off, and he just kind of leans against the rough canyon walls. And you know he's not the first Stormlander to bleed on those stones.
As I set him down, I'm gonna look to Robert Frey and say, "You play a mean game of Lord Crossing. I'm gonna go back in and make sure everyone's okay."
He gives you a nod. I'll watch over him and the horses still, of course.
Look, I'm not gonna forget about my other duties just because I
Yeah.
want to take care of.
I give him a polite nod and I head back in.
He looked after the horses real good.
He's so
Didn't run off for nothing.
They're all stolen.
Yeah, he shot every single one of them in the leg to make sure that they didn't go anywhere.
Sold
You
them
said
for some
keep them here, not keep them safe.
Yeah,
He sold them for some magic beans.
Don't worry, they are not going anywhere.
Someone please
so
dragon
yeah.
eggs.
What you do notice as you flip through the Conquest of Dorne is the spot that you found it is a monstrously large bedroll, not terribly unlike Oris's, which makes it convenient that Adam's the one that found it, because he's like, oh yes, no, this is an Orisian scale sleeping spot. But you also notice a ton of melted down candles there, which of course are a reader's best friend if they can't afford steadier light. And this looks to be like the sleeping spot of the butcher himself. And you do find the leftover trappings of like quill and ink, but the only paper you see is that book. But sure enough, in the margins is all sorts of scribbles. They look to be utter gibberish. It's either in a foreign tongue or some sort of code, and you can't tell if it's talking about that page of the book or if that's just the only paper he had for scribbling down his own strategic thoughts or whatever. But it's kind of an annotated Conquest of Dorne, except the notes in the margins are by Sir Wayland the Butcher, the bloody right hand of the Vulture King, Jonathan Sand. So that's the only kind of papers that you're able to find. But it does look like he spent a lot of time in this cave reading that book and putting notes in it from the like candle graveyard that is almost the size of another pillow, like next to his bed. Like he definitely spent a lot of time reading and studying and pondering that sort of thing.
When you said
That lot of good it didn't.
when you said lots of like burnt down candles, like my mind went to like the Phantom of the Opera, like just the whole room full of them.
Not quite that many. This looked more like a candle or two at a time, to read by. But it is a reminder that this guy, by most accounts, was the Vulture King's top strategist, and he will no longer be able to lend his brain to John Sand unless he comes to this cave and scrapes it up.
Ew.
We may have underestimated this guy. I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah.
Very glad. I am much happier with all of his plans splattered across the wall than actually being used in the battlefield.
You do also find a fresh spring in there, which looks like part of the reason that they chose this cave, and like a chamber away, a cave, I guess, away from that spring. You do find some barrels of food stuff that are almost all running low. It's not terribly different than what you'd find in an army camp somewhere. It's but they're definitely low on rations, and it looks like the full barrels are gone. Right, like they were scraping the bottom of the barrel, which makes sense with the guys that you found also cooking some meat out front. So it looks like the bulk of the troops and their foodstuffs and other supplies already left, but that easy access to a spring helps also remind you of just how long Vulture Kings have been in these mountains and why.
Is
Okay.
any of that stuff any use to us?
Doesn't look like it. Again, it's most of the barrels like have the tops off and are laying on their side to scoop out the last bit of oats or whatever. Like it's they are not the full ones. You are definitely in full-on pixel hunting mode in Skyrim to find edible stuff from these sacks of grain and barrels of oats and that sort of thing. But it is a little more organized than you would expect from bandits. Um, it's a level of another sign of a level of organization above and beyond what you would normally spot from rabble.
Alright. Then we will. I'm not sure what we want to do with anything here.
I mean, I would very much like to take the book.
Of
It's
course.
yours.
If you can decipher any of those notes, this could be very helpful.
Yes, I think I'm going to try and do that.
And I would like us to make note of this so that we know this spring is here for our use in the future, potentially.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
that's all. I mean, we can leave a few men behind to clean up the leavings.
Yeah, just to kind of haul everything outside for the vultures in the sun type
Yeah,
of thing.
and also I guess also to kind of make sure that like another bunch of bandits doesn't just move in as soon as we leave.
Yeah, and that is more House Manwoody's problem than yours, but there's nothing wrong with trying to be good neighbors. Um, so yeah, soon enough, you are able to contact a handful of the riders and guerrillas that came with. They let you know nobody tried to escape through this canyon that we know is an escape. Nobody tried to escape from this canyon that we know is an escape. So it looks like this was the lot of them, and you're able to put some of your small folk soldiers to work with some tarps and ropes and meat hooks, and they will get the carrion out to complete the circle of life here in Dorne. And they all look suitably impressed as they start that work before you lot leave. There's definitely a new, or rather a renewed and continuing appraisal in their eyes. Like damn, like there's not that many of them, and they just did some work, and we're gonna need like 3 guys just for this one body, and so yeah, you guys have definitely left another good impression on the troops.
Good.
Yay.
Good.
It's a healthy respect.
Yeah.
I don't mind fear. It's okay.
So it's like the meme I made for you of Raina. Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Exactly.
All right. She's like, yes, no, that exactly.
That's it.
So you are able to make your way back to the seat of House Manwoody without problem. Kingsgrave is as welcoming as it ever has been, but you also notice the troops out front seem to have swollen. Not by which I mean they really hit the protein and been working out, and also
Swole.
not that they are definitely ill and about to lose limbs, but it looks like there's a whole nother batch of troops waiting out front.
Colors?
Yes, they have some.
And what color would they be?
Are?
You see the banners of House Ironwood
Mm.
waving alongside the banners of House Drinkwater.
One of those things is fine.
House Drinkwater, of course, are bannermen to House Ironwood.
Okay, that's less.
One of those things is the fact that colors exist. That was
Right.
the fine part.
Well, look who's decided to come to the party.
They had an obligation to be here. They're meeting that obligation, and we will do our part as well.
Let's just watch our backs though while we're at it.
I think their excuse swam away.
Yes.
It did.
At
Goddamn it did.
at a glance on your way, just kind of past and through, it looks like close to 200 men are there, but there's no mistaking that many of them are wearing bandages, and even here, it's kind of late afternoon, getting almost to sundown by the time you all are making it back. They look just exhausted. Like the troops that you see are sleeping out in the sun, like they just kind of dropped where they are. Their tents are up and that sort of thing, but all the tents you can see in, men are like openly snoring and just zonked out. And you'd say maybe a quarter of the men that you see are sporting bandages of some sort that are disrupting the colors that they wear. But it looks like they're half in Ironwood colors and half in Drinkwater.
Do they look like infantry or archers or?
All infantry is what you see.
Okay, great.
No like huge things of bows and giveaway piles of arrows and stuff.
Okay, let me make a note of that on my giant spreadsheet of my forces.
Right.
Okay,
Hopefully
we can get to those details later. I just wanted to write down.
ride into Kingsgrave.
It's Ironwood, and what was the banner house?
House Drinkwater.
Drink.
They don't
Okay.
They don't actually have colors in the books, so I'm gonna say that they are like a blue circle, and then like a stony brown circle on like a red stone field. So it's like you're looking down at a well from straight above. Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
like red soil of Dorne, and then like the bricks around a well, and then down into the well.
Yep,
I was thinking the same
Oh,
idea when you mentioned it.
I like it.
We'll
And yeah,
go in and
Hmm.
just like we did when we got back from our last ass kicking of other people.
all right. You guys do the cool guy slow motion walk through the courtyard of Kingsgrave. In that moment when Captain America returns to the army camp in First Avenger. Yeah, it's just that sort of thing, And as has been the case in the past, a lot of people stop what they're doing and kind of look up and you see the occasional flash of like a good luck ward sent your way. It's not quite a like volunteer for tribute, but various, small folk superstition type of things. Like they're all back. Like as many of them left returned. Yay! And that sort of thing. And yeah, the courtyard itself, it's dark, or it's late enough that you're not being greeted out front this time. But it also does look like Kingsgrave is still adjusting to the arrival of a couple hundred new troops. And
Bustling.
yeah, so there's hustling and bustling going on, and it's also getting close to dinner time. So you don't have the awaiting highborn in the courtyard, but you are swiftly approached as you make your way in. Maester Ferris, comes striding up towards you, and he's accompanied by a tall and lean knight that's pretty good looking on the eyes, got blue-green eyes, and like a sun-streaked, shoulder-length blonde hair, moves with a swordsman's grace, and has a bit of like dusted golden scruff along his jawline, and he's wearing the colors of House Drinkwater, with a like his armor is in the Drinkwater colors, and he's got a tabard of House Ironwood kind of hastily tossed on over it.
Has Drinkwater always been a Ironwood house?
If not always, then yes, for a very long time. For, certainly going back to the ages when every asshole with a castle called himself a king and people were fighting a ton. They were probably independent and eventually got absorbed by Ironwood, yada yada. But there's certainly not a recent convert like House Danit or anything like that. The phrase most people tend to use is, for 1,000 years, our ancestors have sworn fealty, right? Like once you get past like great-great-grandpa, everything in Westeros turns into 1,000 years. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. For 1,000 years, House Drinkwater has been loyal to House Ironwood, who has protected them.
Okay.
Mr. Ferris.
My ladies, my lords, sir. And he almost shoulders through you all to get to Balin. Like, not quite rude, but like pretty close to rude. And he's already going, like, by the seven, the size of that blade. You must tell me all about it. And is slipping Sir Balin's arm over his shoulders. And same sort of thing. He's just rolling up those sleeves and going to work. And doing the work. He's not a scholarly maester that's scared to get blood on his robe. And he starts to guide Sir Balin in particular way. I know some of you are pretty beat up too, but I know Sir Balin was worse. And then almost offhandedly over his shoulder, like, yes, this is Sir Garrus Drinkwater, and you lot handle that. Sorry, medicine before heraldry. And then he's off around a corner with Sir Balin.
I give a polite nod.
Sir Garrus, well met.
Sir Garrus gives the lot of you appraising looks with those shining blue-green eyes. And there's a bit of a smile on his face that you're not sure if it's a neutral smug impression or if he just kind of likes what he's looking at with any or all of you. And he gives a polite nod back and says, well met indeed. It seemed that no matter how hard I marched the troops, we have missed the day's excitement, eh?
Yeah, we were just cleaning out the caves that held one of the Vulture King's lieutenants, known as the Butcher. It was a tough fight, but we were victorious in the end.
Well, good. Our fight was perhaps a bit less dramatic, but it was all we could do to get here. I'm glad to hear that we didn't miss the battle, but damn those archers, with every turn and around every corner and through every canyon, and any time we strayed too near that damned river, there were arrows to meet us. Finally marched the men overnight last night, and we didn't get shot at any more this last leg, but it was all we could do to get bread and salt in our bellies before I let the men sleep. I'm thinking it's best to let them go until tomorrow morning. The maester's been busy and all his assistants, but I fear 2, perhaps 3 score of our men may not be ready to fight by, what are we now, expecting the attack in 2 days, I think?
Yeah, that's about the estimates that I have received as well. I had heard about your troubles with arriving here, and we had gone and cleared out that archer camp by the river. We weren't able to get the leader, but we were able to kill a significant number of them, which I imagine is what allowed you to make it here today.
When we knew that we were only a few days out, we just left our supply wagons and marched nonstop since then. We thought we'd shuck the weight and perhaps tempt them with the food, but not to worry, we fouled it before we left. But, yes, deucedly hard time getting here. Sorry for our tardiness. We brought 200 men, 100 spearmen from House Drinkwater, and 100 from House Ironwood. That was all my lord could spare, he said, in these times.
Well, we
And
appreciate.
you in command of these troops, Sir Garrus.
He did. My apologies if you were expecting an Ironwood proper, but I do believe they're still a bit cross with you.
That's
Give him
understandable.
a big, give him a smile, a Raina smile.
Well, for what it's worth, I welcome your help here in this matter. The Vulture King has all of our problems, regardless of our past histories with each other.
Indeed, indeed. But I imagine the fear was that Sir Cletus may not have wanted to work with you well, or may not have been able to. But a humble Drinkwater, and not a member of the Blood Royal proper, no worries, my lady. I've heard of how you carried yourself at the tourney, and since then, and my troops are yours.
Excellent. Rest up.
We appreciate your efforts, sir.
And I hope that your men recover swiftly and without complications.
We shall see. I'll take stock after they've had a good night's rest, and see how they're doing tomorrow. I'll get you a proper head count before the Vulture King is expected, my ladies.
Excellent. Thank you, Sir Garrus.
Of course.
But I have need of the maester and a bath, and so I take a quick glove and I give him my hand. I'm a lady.
It would be my honor, my lady. And yeah, he will let you. It's kind of weird because he's nominally escorting you somewhere, but you're certainly taking the lead because he doesn't know where your chambers are yet. So you are kind of leading the dance. But yeah, he makes a big show of giving you his arm, etc., etc., and he does not at all seem to mind. And yeah, he doesn't look like worse up close. He's got his own nice cloak of soft brown wool lined with sand silk, a Dornish specialty, and he smells faintly of cinnamon up close. It looks like perhaps he's taken on that sometimes high society, sometimes associate habit of scenting himself. Yeah, he's a pretty good looking dude. A little taller than Sir Barry. Sorry, Lord
I would
Barry.
say to everyone who's left, to Adam and to Bela, I think mayhaps the ride has made Raina rather thirsty.
But surely she could find Lord Barrick around somewhere.
Alisane lets out a little cackle. Well, if she didn't, I wouldn't mind if we could find another one or two of him to help me with my bath.
High fives haven't been invented yet, have they?
Nothing's stopping you from inventing them now.
Oh, yes, you can say that again, Lady Allison.
Well, I suppose I'm off to the Maester too first, but maybe he'll want to help me with his bath. That Ferris, he ain't like the crusty old ones we've seen before.
That's true.
Were you injured, Lady Beaumont?
Just a few scratches from spears and such.
That
They were no match for you, my lady.
that Frey boy, he's quite concerned about you. Should I don't know, ruffle his hair when you get him.
Ah, he's a good lad.
Yes.
Curiously so. Are you sure he's really a Frey?
Freeze.
I mean, they didn't seem like a terrible lot when I met them up the Twins, but those other little Frey cunts there in King's Landing were not Robert's caliber. I guess he would have said class, not caliber. So whatever.
Yeah.
Very well. Yes. I'll, if you don't mind, we'll join you on the Maester's tent. I have some more wounds.
Oh, looks like we ran into a tech issue with Felicia.
Oh no, I got it now. I can.
Got us now?
I'm
All right.
there,
Great.
so I can't contribute, but I want to be able to hear the bantering.
Yeah, just basically just kind of agreeing with her, and then I'm gonna also go to the Maester's tent. So I just wanted to say so I don't look like a creep following her there.
She does not mind, and once she notices you walking behind her, she makes a big show of stopping and taking off a gauntlet. It's not a glove. But
Shall I escort you, my lady?
If you like, we can skip the Maester's tent and go straight to that bath. That's the last thing. That's the last thing you lot hear as they saunter around a corner in the.
He
Also have that confidence.
takes her hand, puts another on her, and goes, okay, we can do this.
Okay.
You get the feeling she was more teasing than not, because she does head towards Maester Ferris's waiting chambers. For now, at least.
He just laughs and he goes along to get the various wounds patched up.
So let's go ahead and handle those rolls for people that have injuries and or wounds from today's fight. Get your D6s out, boys and ghouls. And we're going to start with Maester Ferris rolling his diagnosis check, which is a roll 6, keep 4.
We need to invest in his education, get him more dice.
15.
Alrighty, 1 second. So let's see. Let's go ahead and make it difficulty 3 base, because the wounds are apparent and able to be described, but you guys did then have to like ride all the way back and stuff like that, so there's some issues there. That'll be roll 6, keep 6, to make the actual treat injury test.
Okay, so just to clarify, Luke has a fatigue and 11 out of 12 hitbox damage, but no
Those
additional injuries.
Yeah, wound points are nothing. They are strain and exertion and near misses, right?
Okay.
So
I had the wound from the other day, but
yeah,
so no roll needed, I think. Is that the case?
correct. But yeah, wound points kind of recover end of a scene.
You mean damage
Fatigue
points?
will recover once you guys can rest. So
Rusty,
yeah.
that's damage points recover at the end of the scene. Wounds
What
are.
did I say
Yeah.
wound points?
You said
My
wound
bad.
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, I understood what you meant. Yeah, for clarity, that's a good bring it
Yeah.
up.
So the damage points that you take, like I said, they represent near misses and bumps and bruises, not damage. So there's no roll need.
So Luke wore his ass out and strained a bunch of shit, but did not take any additional injuries. So
All right, good stuff.
I took injuries though. I'm just trying to remember how many because I wrote. Is it like a -1 die per?
That's a wound.
Injuries
yeah,
are,
-1 to the overall
I
result.
had a minus
to the
3
sword.
written on my sheet for it said injury and then it said -3 to rolls. So I think I
Okay.
must have 3 injuries.
Yes, that's 3 injuries there. So 1 sec. You were doing some riding fighting. Did you roll the 66
I have
and
it.
keep 6?
I
Yeah,
have it
go ahead and
right
make that roll.
I just waiting to make sure that I'm on the right page here. I have 17.
All right, so 17
Nice.
total. 1 second. It's gonna be 2 of the injuries will go away by your next scene, like by tomorrow's stuff. It's not enough to get all 3 of them, but that 2 of them will be gone. Anybody else have injuries that need attention? Alrighty then. We are kind of cutting to free time. We'll assume that it's an hour or 2 later. Everyone's been able to get some food in their belly, get cleaned up, get bandaged, get changed. Does anybody have particular plans for this evening?
Yes.
I want to track down Bela if I can. I assume that's possible, unless she's trying to
Oh, yeah.
avoid me.
Nope. No, I will be there in the war room with like the maps and like plans and things like that.
I will approach and kind of. Can we talk about what happened earlier? Do you want to talk about it? Are you okay with everything?
With killing the butcher, yeah, that was a pretty successful operation there.
I give her that kind of like look, like
And then I cut the seriousness and I just like laugh. What about it? It's fine.
you like him.
He seems like a very capable knight.
He is, but have you thought about what this means?
What do you think it means?
Bela and Balin.
Well, yes, obviously, yes, if we get married, we would be together, right? But what do you mean, have I thought about what it means?
I mean, just those 2 names. Really, you want to do this?
Oh, come on. I just like give him a little push, like playfully.
Okay, I lightly give her a push back. No, he's. I laugh.
Yeah,
No, he's good. He's a good guy. Just I don't know. If you want to, sure.
is there something I should know?
Well, I mentioned my only complaint was the names are too similar. That's just wrong. The 7 don't approve of that.
Well, that's funny. I thought it was the 7 playing a funny joke.
Is this a private conversation, by the way?
I mean, not exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're around, you know, they're not
Family.
super secret.
I mean, I think it could be fun if we were all together to talk about it, but it
I
doesn't have
mean,
to be.
you're welcome to walk in at any moment.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, everybody.
It's just the same bit. Oh, the names are too similar. No, it's sudden, but no, I don't have any objections. Really.
Yeah. I mean, might be a Stormlander, but you know, I think it'll work out just fine.
We're not supposed to like them, right?
Yeah, not supposed to, but
Well, it's working out all right for Raina.
yeah.
I mean, one did betray us. He's probably not doing that though. He probably wouldn't have died in a cave almost.
It's true. I mean, look, we've already been through that route of Stormlanders betraying us. Maybe we go the other routes of bringing them into the family.
I mean, if I might suggest that we assess people individually rather than making blanket assumptions, because after all, some Dornish people betrayed us as well.
But we are expecting it from them.
But no true Dornish people, right?
That gets into very slippery territory, Luke.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. Like, how everyone says all the same disparaging things about Dornish people. I don't know. We heard it all up in King's Landing, didn't we? And I'm sure you heard worse up in the north. The north.
Well,
Oh.
sometimes, yes.
I think the North has the advantage, and correct me if I'm wrong, brother, that they don't really know that many Dornish people.
No, very few. We're something of a curiosity rather than actively hostile.
When you're in King's Landing, they they have a lot of shit to throw in your face.
But honestly, Sister Sir Balin is, as far as I can tell, a very honourable man and handsome, and I think you could do a lot worse.
Oh, I definitely agree. I definitely I don't think he'd just like throw me in some keep and keep me there either.
I don't think he could.
Well, no.
Though it's that's also a consideration. He's a second son, so you wouldn't have to leave home if you didn't want to, and he certainly seems to appreciate a warrior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's an acceptable match. It's not really up to me, but
No,
just
of course
know.
not.
Well, you don't have to say, of course not.
Well, I mean, like it's not. It isn't. It's not up to us. If it's up to anyone, it's grandfather and then possibly Reina.
But what I'm saying, grandfather,
ultimately,
even be damned, Bela, whatever you want to do, I got your back.
Of course, that's really. I was trying to convey the same sentiments, I suppose, but saying that, well, if you were inclined towards him, then I approve very much.
I think, all things considered, he is one of the best. What's that?
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't anything important.
Oh, I was just gonna say, all things considered, he would be a very good choice.
From a sort of meta-narrative common knowledge note, House Swan itself would be a very good catch for any young lord or lady. They're generally regarded as like the second house of the Stormlands. Like they're in second place in, kind of wealth and prestige to the Baratheons, and that's about it. They're real old. They have that river trade lockdown thing going for them that brings a lot of extra wealth. So they kind of get short shrift in the books in terms of not having a ton of like named characters. But yeah, they are one of the very prominent houses of the Stormlands, kind of like the Ironwoods are in Dorne. House Bolton or Karstark is in the north, yada yada yada. They're one of those top tier houses of the Stormlands. So yeah, in terms of status and general comparison of houses, it's not at all like an insult. It's not like it's some really minor nothing house speaking above his station or whatever. It's a pretty solid match.
Yeah.
Oh, I must say that was quite an unexpected end to the fight.
Yeah, I was taken off guard, perhaps more so than the fight itself.
Well, I'm gonna get cleaned up. That's all I had to say. So.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing is that we know that grandfather and
Lady Olenna
are cooking things up as well. So
that's true. They may have some other dashing suitors to throw at you.
And once
if
we tell grandfather about this one, they might speed up their timeline for presenting other options.
Possibly. Are you going to tell grandfather?
I don't really have to. Like, I mean, unless
I don't see any.
Balin recants that proposal, right?
I suppose, but I mean, it's not like you need to tell him right away. But it could wait till we came back.
I would send him a letter now, to be honest.
But,
let him know.
I would say sending a raven now is probably advisable. He does.
I mean, go ahead, brother.
I was just saying that I don't think grandfather would like being kept out of the loop there, but given the circumstances, it would also be understandable if you wanted time to think about it.
No,
The only thing I would add is maybe make sure he still feels that way in the morning when he's not concussed.
You know what? That's a very good idea.
Why
Perhaps.
don't we let him handle it? Sorry, I'm not there. I'm shutting up.
Yeah, if you want to chime in, you've got to like invade people's privacy, Raina.
Yeah, just let him know you have possible other options. There's no rush, obviously. I mean, you're still young.
I think I'll play it more straightforward than that. I don't see any reason to play games here.
No,
Yeah,
no,
and
no.
out of character, there's no way that he's expecting a response right now. Like, he knows that you have to check, he should check with his family, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, it's just that the offer is now there. But yeah, he's not going to stay up all night writing sad poetry if you don't catch him before everybody goes to bed and let him know. Right?
Well, good,
like,
good, because that is my gig.
Okay, so my plan will be to write a raven to grandfather, letting him know in brief details that I have received a marriage proposal from Sir Balin Swan, and that further details might be forthcoming from their house.
I will add that, and again, I'm with you. Grandfather seems to be plotting shit. A lot of stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah, keeping in the loop is not a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I am off. You guys have fun.
Great.
Yeah,
I have fun too.
I should probably get to looking
Not
at that
too
book,
much.
see if I can decipher it.
So that is a success. So now he can add his will rank times degree of success. So 1. So as well. All right. So now you, young Lord Adam the Archer, will make a cunning test, and you will be adding 6 to your total. Oh, sorry, 5 to your total for the assist from him.
Okay. That's a pretty good bonus. Oh, and a really good roll. That is 17 on the dice, so plus 6 would be 23. Is that right?
Let me, double checking the difficulties here. One second. Let's see. Because a lot of times difficulties are based on, I don't know, a lot of extenuating circumstances. This one looks like it's just based on language and how, I'm going to call this a moderate code because this guy was pretty smarter than he looks. So each degree of success allows you to decipher about a paragraph. That is not kind of how this works. You do have 2 degrees of success, though. So that's going to be enough of, it does look like most of them are annotations to the book. But you do see several times that he scribbles in like, there's like a JS underscore pointing to like a paragraph with about tactics. So it looks like some of them are notes to himself, and some of them are notes of like, Jonathor does this, or tell Jonathor about this, or right. So it looks like it's a combination of he's had this book a long time and has noted a lot in it, but some of them do also look rather distressingly like he's been giving strategy tactics to the Vulture, or strategy lessons to Jonathor Sand, or getting them from Jonathor Sand. Neither one is a particularly relaxing thought. So you do see some signs that it's a bit of both, a personal war journal and annotations to it.
Well, we'd rather hoped that that the butcher had left his tactical knowledge scattered in those caves, but it looks like he's passed on some to his master. Oh, well.
The butcher, you say? Huh.
Do you know about him?
That's curious. I mean, I'd heard of him. I was supposed to dye his beard red with blood and all that, and
Well,
this was his.
Well, yes. Is that significant? We
Oh no, just curious. You'd think he'd be called Sir Wayland the Clever, or Sir Wayland the, you know.
I see. Yes, it was a rather surprising find, but I suppose you don't get to be second in command to such a thorn in the side of the rest of Dorne without having some cleverness.
Just with the nickname of the butcher, I'd assumed it was primarily a matter of zeal, let's say, or perhaps gusto.
Well, I can attest personally he had plenty of that. He was enormous.
Indeed, Sir Balin said as much, and he's a rather strapping fellow himself, so I can only assume, yes, Sir Wayland must be rather impressive.
Yes, he was about 1 oris tall and 2 orises wide.
Oh, yes, the big fellow,
Yes.
the bastard. Yes, of course. Quite great, quite very clever.
He was like 2 oxen sewn together.
That's not good for them.
Well, I should certainly hope no one's tried it.
It's been studied.
Oh my god.
You know what? I am not surprised. It's probably not even the weirdest thing that's been studied at the Citadel.
Yeah, it is. Right? Is absolutely like flat and serious face. He's like, no, that's not healthy. Don't do that. But perhaps
he's exactly my kind of person.
Perhaps this Sir Wayland acquired his nickname for the precision of his cuts, instead of simply the weight of his cleaver, as it were. Huh. Curious. This.
Well,
curious.
Well, it's not the weight of the cleaver; it's how you use it.
Both are very important.
Never mind that; it was a joke.
Yes, of course. Quite right. Yes, this will have to go in this. Yes, of course. And he looks at you like, anything else?
This will have to go in what?
And he gestures to the rest of the table that is almost reminiscent of Grandfather's Solar, in that you're sure that there is some method to it, but you are sure that it makes sense only to the person who has strewn the papers. He just gestures. He goes, "Yes, I'm writing all of this. The Southern Alliance versus the Vulture King in the year. Well, I'm still working on the title, but yes, it's all about the Stormlands and the Dornish are banding together to put an end to the lawlessness in the Red Mountains, and my privileged position to be here and witness all of it. And so it's only, of course, natural that I must document it, as there are no other maesters present. No offense at all intended to your uncle. He has earned his chains, and I do not begrudge him them, but he did not get the robe, and he does not seem the type to write perhaps a treatise of this length. But yes, of course.
Not true, Maester.
I think it's basically, yeah, like, leave it to the real nerds. But I very much hope to see it completed and read it someday.
That would be fantastic. Yes, of course. I'll need to pen several copies. It only just occurred to me that the lords and ladies involved directly in this affair might want copies. Tell me, do you think most of them care to read?
Well, I think they all do. You know what? I don't. I could ask.
No, no.
I'm
I'll
sure.
just.
I'm sure though that if you wanted to present them with such a thing, they would be most honored.
Well, no need to pen additional copies until I see how many of you survive, anyways. But yes,
Well, that's a
thank you for
cheery
that
thought.
reminder.
That's a very cheery thought indeed. Um, Look, you have. This has been a great help, and I appreciate it. So, if you have need of any favor in the future, then feel free to ask me.
Oh, of course, and the same to you, young lord. As I, well, rather, directly serve your house now, I am at your service, and I do love puzzles.
Well, that's good to know. I like a puzzle too. It was good to work with you.
And you, uh, back to this. And he
Yes.
just turns and starts to like. It almost looks like juggling, right? Like just the way he's doing stuff to the piles on the desk. He's muttering to himself like adjustments are being made based on some of this new information. And he's absolutely shuffling things around. Um, and you are, like any visitor, like probably forgotten before the door closes because he's
Yeah.
just like back to work, you know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, Adam's not quite that far when he's not like a maester or anything, but like he certainly has a similar approach to doing writing and researching things and stuff. So yeah, like he knows the drill is fine. So yeah, like at the next opportunity, we'll be excitedly telling his siblings and friends about having deciphered a code.
Yeah, and it's gonna take more time to get kind of all of it. It's gonna be very slow reading
Yeah,
to like make your way through.
yeah.
But you
I mean,
do definitely feel like you've basically got it broken at this point. It's just
it's
still
just a
not
matter
gonna
of getting
be.
through it. Yeah. So yeah, like got the principle of it now. So it's just a matter of taking the time to try to like decipher each page. I mean, at the very least, I would like to let Bela know that we've done this and what seems to be the general gist of it at the moment, so that she at least knows that anything that like anything Sir Wayland has written in this may very well be like something that Sir Jonathan knows. So yeah.
All right. Erica, is Bela available? And you two want to have that conversation? All right, I will hand it off to the players then. Erica, where does Adam find Bela? And then you two. Oh, we're not getting any sound from you, Erica.
How about now?
Yes, can
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay. She's getting some food and on her way back to her tent.
Bela,
Oh, yes,
uh,
yes, Adam.
well, I've well, Mr. Ferris and I deciphered some of the book.
Oh, have you? That was quick.
Well, we've not managed the whole thing. We've managed to do a couple of pages together, but that's given me enough that I can work through the rest of the book on my own.
Okay, great. You
But
want
oh,
to come with me and we can talk in the tent?
sure, sure.
So, yeah, so put down my plate
Yeah.
and some wine. And so,
Yeah.
so what are the big secrets of the butcher?
I mean, I wish they were big secrets. It seems
Oh.
mostly to be his own, well, a combination of his own thoughts on the content book and notes on pieces that he either told to Sir Jonathan or intended to tell Sir Jonathan. There are some passages where he's underlined the initials JS with reference to a particular passage. So I think this is his sharing tactical knowledge with Sir Jonathan. So any of those passages, I think we can reasonably assume to be tactics that Sir Jonathan may know and use.
And,
I know it's not.
And which tactics would that be?
Sorry?
Which tactics are those so that I may orient our defenses?
Out of character, what we're going to be doing is Ash's successful work on this has unlocked the ability, as we get to the big battle at the end, to use the logic specialty of cunning. Whoever Bela wants to have helping her with that, you can now do the logic/cunning test against the passive warfare of the Vulture King, as we are in the final bits of preparation prior to kicking off our big battle, and you'll be able to potentially get some bonus dice on warfare tests against him if you take the time to study the book and figure out what he might be thinking. Then you can make that logic test and potentially get yourself a leg up.
Great.
So I mean, I'm going to work through the rest of it as quickly as I can, but it seems that we can reasonably assume that several passages of these are going to represent tactics that Sir Jonathan will probably use against us.
Great. So, young Adam, I am going to rely upon you to help me come up with a plan relating to these tactics.
Right. I will compile a list of the ones that he has specifically marked for Sir Jonathan so that we can perhaps formulate strategies for those specific tactics.
Great. Thank you.
And how that's going to work mechanically is the remaining days before the battle, you can make a roll to decipher more of the notes, which will lower the difficulty of the logic test, or you can attempt the logic test to accrue some degrees of success. So you've got 2 days left, and we'll worry about that as they come up, but you get to choose, Ash, whether to decipher more or to focus on compiling them to help with the warfare side. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So you can either lower the difficulty or start making rolls and accruing degrees of success. And you'll have 2 more chances to pick away at the book. So yeah, that was one of them that had a little bit of a variable based on when in the week you guys got it. So yeah, I had a lot of moving parts on this adventure, and I want to explain them to everybody after you guys start to move the parts.
I like it. It's like it makes me feel like I'm more useful than like just like the archery side of things. Well, like I feel I've been useful in that way. It's like it's good to be useful in another way.
I mean, you're mostly here for your good looks. Like you know that, right?
Yeah, the enemy will go, he's too pretty to die.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's why you're on the stream. Like, Adam's good looking too, but it's not
Oh,
made
I
as
see. I see. I'm just a pretty face.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main reason. We were getting the authenticity of accent for a Westerosi game, and then we were just, yeah. So. All right. Anybody else have any particular plans for the evening?
No, I'm just hitting the baths and then going to my tent out with my troops. So
Doing a lot of resting so I can get rid of all my hit points and I don't know, flirting with Beck, if you will.
Yes. Spoiler, he will.
right in front of Sir Drinkwater too. For shame.
I'm
So,
I didn't
ba-
like seduce the man while I was actively bleeding from wounds.
That won't stop me from shaking my head.
I mean, some people are clearly into that. Bela just got a
Apparently.
marriage proposal. All right then.
so Bela
Everybody.
is gonna do something. Um, so she's gonna go around and tell the work council members what the plan is for tomorrow. That we're gonna go to Wynn Tower and so forth. I'm going to double check with Barrick and make sure that he is good with come along with us.
Of course he is.
Um, I'll also let the new arrival, Sir Garrus, know as well. I'll also offer him the opportunity to come along if he's interested, but if not, if he'd rather stay with his troops, I understand because they just got here and the difficulties they faced.
Sir Garrus gives you what looks to be that same kind of flirtingly appraising look of just a handsome knight looking at a pretty lady. But you realize that it's not just that. And you imagine he's probably doing some quick math and remembering that his men all got bread and salt before he leaves them. It's maybe it makes you think a little bit higher of him to go like, wait a second, are they trying to separate me from my troops to do bad things to either or both of us? But it certainly looks like it's just kind of a uh, faintly rude leer. But then, very quickly, he gives you a rather disarming smile. And he says, of course, it's not every day that a humble knight of House Drinkwater is asked to go for a afternoon ride with ladies as pretty as those of House Nymaryen.
I thank you. It is business though, and we will try to see what the matter is with the knight there.
Make Balin fight him.
All
Let the
right
poor
then.
man rest.
Let's go ahead and take our break a little bit early again, and then when we come back, we will head off to Wynn Tower. So yeah, let's go ahead and cut to our break as we do our overnight. Everybody gets rested up. Everybody decides what kind of stuff they're going to wear the next day as they head out to Wynn Tower and all that. But we will pick it up kind of on the ride out towards Wynn Tower when we get back from our break in a couple of minutes. Hey everybody, and welcome back. Sorry, we got a little distracted talking about food there during our break. Trying to make dinner plans leads to long conversations in Casse de Zimmerman. But we are back in Westeros now, and we're going to pick things up as you guys are riding out to Wynn Tower, where you are hoping to meet with and speak to Sir Edwin Wynn. He is a landed knight and a bannerman to House Manwoody that has just been radio silent for a long time. He kind of made a name for himself in Robert's Rebellion. He was from the Reach initially. He did well in Robert's Rebellion and became kind of the martial right hand of the Manwoodies, fighting against Robert Baratheon. Remember that the Reach and Dorne were both loyalist forces. So he was kind of rewarded with this tower and all that. But he has gone radio silent of late. He has not answered his lord's call to arms, literally or figuratively. And you guys are on your way to go see what is up, like how that is come to be, where he and his men are, what the heck the problem is.
Okay. We're not like expecting actual armed rebellion here, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna dress like we are.
Well, the fact that we don't really know what we're going into means we should probably be extra careful.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do. I guess I'll wear my breastplate, but with a fancy cloak.
Okay. What about Bela? What level of armor are we going there for?
She's gonna go with a breastplate. It's been a few days in a row of the heavier armor, so she's gonna hope that this is a little bit less physically dangerous and go for a breastplate to keep her a little bit cooler.
All right, Sir Lucaris, what's your plan?
Well, I'm gonna wear my half plate since the heat never bothered me anyways.
So just the bottom half, no shirt?
Exactly. Typical style.
Don't do that to me.
Sorry, I saw the chance to almost kill my wife, and I had to go for it.
You know, I should have said the opposite, actually. I think about it. I should have said top half, no bottom. I fucked
There
it
you
up.
go.
That didn't
Like
happen.
Donald Duck.
Yeah, like our hero Donald Duck.
Ooh, think of the chafing writing
Our
that
Lord
verse.
and Savior.
What about young Adam the archer?
I think in the interest of being as safe as possible, he's going with the heaviest armor he has, which is scaled armor. But of course, it's because it's him, it's fancy.
It's a given. It's scale armor written in cursive.
In
And-
lavender ink.
Yeah.
Well,
And the knight and lord accompanying you on your trip today, Lord Beric Dondarrion, they are both in chainmail, just kind of that middle of the road option that so many people wear. And they both, yes, have very dashing cloaks on. Lord Beric Dondarrion is wearing the gifted cloak that Adam gave him for standing by your side at the Trial of Seven, perhaps as a compliment to House Nymaryen, perhaps as a subtle snub to Sir Garrus Drinkwater, because of course he fought in the Trial of Seven against, House Ironwood partially. Sir
yes.
Drinkwater is also in just that sort of ringmail / chainmail, but he does have that kind of brown travel cloak on with the inside lined in silk. And he got sort of pretty dashing assortment of riders then as you make your way out of Kingsgrave and head towards Wynn Tower. Sir Edwin's job primarily is to assist his lord in martial matters as a sub-commander, but specifically he also looks after Lowfields, which was the local estate that is not terribly far from his tower. Out of character, I'm going to say if you guys completely knock this out of the park and we're making really good time on today's episode, we might be able to actually double up and you could do Lowfields also. So happy birthday, everybody. But first, Wynn Tower itself. It is a broad, round tower, about 4 stories high. There's often kind of a cellar basement type of thing as well, for storing stuff. But what you can see of it, it goes up 4 stories. It is patterned in the stone. They're alternating with the brickwork with particularly red stones and not. So it's almost like a checkerboard pattern on the outside of it, with the alternating look of the red mountains of Dorne versus just kind of more neutral grayish material. There is a dry moat around it. There is a banner hanging from one of the kind of archer firing ports directly over the gate. And that banner is a black battle axe on a sandy brown field. That is Sir Edwin's personal heraldry. And the axe is dripping red, kind of down to the bottom of the banner. And that is fluttering in the breeze, and that's about all you see, because the everything is locked up. Nobody is riding out to greet you. You're certain that they've seen you. You see a couple guys rolling around up top there on the broad top level of the tower. You can make out a couple silhouettes up there, and there's not a whole lot else to look at out here. So there's no way that anybody was looking at anything but your devastatingly handsome and good-looking traveling crew here. But yeah, nobody seems to be in a rush to acknowledge your presence. So you are met simply by the stony face of Wynn Tower itself.
Well,
Before we get any action, did we bring any soldiers with us?
Yeah, I would have brought a company of cavalry. I don't know if they're all knights, but they're on horseback with us.
the horsemen.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it was clear.
And maybe some Stormland, some of the Dawn colors might be nice, and maybe some of the Drinkwater colors might be nice. Just so to represent everyone in the party.
Drinkwater's people are still, as a cadre, recovering from their guerrilla attacks and starvation and night marching. But you can absolutely get some of the knights of House Dane and some of the riders of Blackhaven from House Dondarrion to accompany you.
Yeah, I think we've been pushing my
Look impressive. I don't yell to announce myself. I expect someone else to do so.
yeah,
I will look at Luke.
yeah, I will make eye contact with Raiden. Would you like me to announce our presence?
Please do, brother.
Sir Edwin, this is Sir Luke Karras of House Nymaryen. We are here to parley.
Battery low.
Self or a advocate of yours?
There's no answer for what is definitely a rudely long time. And you're just left with
Charging
that
battery.
banner kind of snapping in the wind, the occasional hoof fall or snort of one of the almost 30 horses you guys have out here. And it's definitely a long and awkward pause, and you still do see a little bit of movement somewhere up on the ramparts, up top, and the occasional flicker of movement in the kind of archer windows that go all through the tower all the way up. So you're absolutely aware that you are being watched, and that they know that you're here, and that there's still no answer for maybe a minute. There's nothing.
Yeah, I'll give it definitely some time before I do anything else.
Yeah, so it's about a full minute, and then you hear a booming voice from clearly up on the top of the tower, roaring down at you with, "Why?"
You've not answered your lord's call to arms. We are here to investigate why.
You are answered by the stony face of the tower once again. And you can see a little peak of sun-bleached hair up top there as a different kind of profile presents itself momentarily up above. that stands a little bit taller than some of the other fellows that you've seen. And again, he clearly heard you, but you have to wait almost a minute. And then he goes, "Why you?" comes bellowing down.
Your lord has been injured in battle. He has sent us on his behalf, as we are allied with him, to deal with the issue of the Vulture King. I am a knight, like yourself. That is why I am speaking. Although there's others here you can speak to if you wish.
It's a lesser pause this time. He says, "No Lord Dagos, no Sir Miles. He brings in Nymaryens to do his talking for him." Huh. And you can hear the huh from 4 stories up and like half of bowshot away. Right? And then
Drama.
you
I am
hear
going to give Reyna and Bela both a glance that, and how much of this I can get away without saying anything, I guess, will depend on what the GM wants to allow. But essentially, Luke wants to move on to a vague threat at this point. But he wants you guys' permission to do it.
Got mine. It's a legitimate question.
Ask to talk to the manager.
Shall we speak in more comfortable situations, or shall I have your tower burned down?
Oh dear.
Then bring up the wood.
You know we can see you, don't you?
Yes, it is not a bluff.
Your men have no supply wagons, and you are on my land. I know where the wood is, and you haven't got it, sir.
It is simply a matter of going to where there is wood. Or shall we discuss things?
I thought we were discussing things.
I feel like I'm shouting at a tower. This does not feel like a discussion to me.
How chaotic.
You're met with silence again. And then, large, rather loud kind of metallic clanks, and the drawbridge unlatches and slowly lowers. And there's nothing else to look at but this goddamn drawbridge, and you know that he told them to lower it at like half speed. And as it thumps into place here in the dry soil of Dorne, you see a full-on unit of mounted riders, 2 abreast there, with a large blonde-haired man dressed all in sandy brown with black accents in the lead. And they start, like all of them start across the drawbridge at like a high stepping trot, right? That kind of parade march type of thing that's generally a sign of pretty well-trained riders. And these guys are all doing it. They're not quite like in unison. They're not marching their horses, but this is the same sort of martial display. And who you assume must be Sir Edwin Wynn, rides slowly directly at you as his men branch out in wings on either side of him and wait with their war horses eagerly pawing what is his land.
Sir
and
Edwin.
Sir Edwin.
Yeah, I'll nod to him. Sir Edwin, I appreciate your presence.
I
Would you like
don't
to talk in
much
private or in
appreciate
public?
yours. Stop. You I'm done talking to. You rode to my home and threatened it. I'll talk to another of you. Lord Barrick, perhaps? Sir Garrus, isn't it? You don't know, but the three of you are Nymaryens. I'll try not to hold him against you. Someone else will speak to me, or I'll speak not at all.
I'll speak with you. I am Lady Rhaena Nymaryen, heir to House Nymaryen. And had to get my little horse bow. My lord.
Sir is all, but thank you. And then he looks to Adam, or actually, he'd go Bela next because he's kind of going in age. So he'll look to Bela and quirk one golden blonde eyebrow.
I am
The blonde?
Bela Nymaryen. And I will also do the bow.
He gives a polite nod in return and looks to Adam.
I'm Adam Nymaryen, sir.
He lets out like a gusty sigh and then glances at literally everyone but Luke because he knows that Sir Garrus is a Dornishman and a peer of his. Well, he's an heir instead of the landed knight himself, but anyways, he seems to have met or at least to know Lord Beric by his cloaks, and he knows that he's a lord. But there is also some body language going on with Lord Beric and Sir Garrus kind of deferring to the rest of you. So it's a little curious. It looks like he's not sure who to talk to, but he is pointedly not talking to Luke.
Yeah, I just want to just follow up my introduction with a brief. We were told that you had not been heard from in several weeks. We came to bring aid and find out if you were in need of it.
While he says this, Luke turns his horse 180 degrees. He turns his back to Edwin and kind of trots up to Wayne and goes, "Well, I got his attention. He's all yours."
Because surely something awful must have befallen you to not heed your lord's call.
My lord has not heeded my call. My oath is obedience in return for protection. Surely you're all aware of the traditions, even here in Dorne. They are not so different than they were back in the Reach, where I now wonder if perhaps I should have stayed. If he does not answer my call, why should I answer his?
I do not know of this call that you have sought aid for, but Lord Dagos has been plagued with problems. Sir Miles was unavailable to him and is now recovering at home since we have fetched him home. There were perhaps circumstances of which you were not aware here in Wynn Tower.
There are circumstances in Wynn Tower that Lord Dagos is not aware of either.
Then speak of them, and we might make good the pact between you and he.
And why should I share my grief with strangers who come threatening to burn down my home?
Oh, he didn't mean that. He was just trying to get your attention.
So the Nymaryens are liars then?
Of course not. Just...
No.
Please forgive my brother's former sharpness.
Another gusty sigh. And he lifts a hand, and there's a really tense moment because as that hand goes up, you can see all of his men are sitting up a little straighter in the saddle. They're all grabbing reins more readily, right? It's kind of that moment of like engines revving right before a race type of thing, like, oh shit. And then he gestures backwards with the hand again, and with pretty impressive precision, his men reverse course and fade back in two neat rows, with the nearest of them to the drawbridge turning, and each in line pivoting and riding back in two abreast. And he gives it about 15 seconds, which just feels like the perfect timing for the last of them to be on their way in across the drawbridge. And he turns his horse, and heads across the drawbridge as well. And as he's about halfway across the drawbridge, he gestures behind him with a little wave, inviting some of you in with him. He does not specify. He just gives kind of a negligent, come inside, whichever of you will be coming sort of wave.
Our men will stay out here.
Sister, I'll stay with him if it's up to you. If you wish it, brother.
No, I think that might be wise. Let's keep you out of his line of sight for now.
Oh, Adam. It wasn't a bluff.
I know, but when we're trying to
Go.
when we're trying to speak peacefully, it is perhaps best not to threaten attacks.
It's sometimes best to have a shared antagonist. Go do the other part of it. I have faith in my family.
My ladies, Lord Barrick gives a questioning look to Bela and Reyna, and Sir Garrus sits just behind him. Looks like they're not sure if you want them to come in.
I would feel better if you accompanied him. Nothing else.
I want them with us.
Yeah.
All right, they give Bela and Reyna a nod and follow you lot in. The drawbridge is raised behind you. He does you the courtesy of waiting until the last of your riders, Sir Garrus, is inside and off the drawbridge. It's not a hurry up or we're going to break your horse's leg type of move, but it's almost the moment that the last of Sir Garrus's horse's hooves start to clatter on the stones there in this small kind of keep, that drawbridge is lifted. You can see now that basically the entirety of the keep is functionally stables and barracks, and then like food storage. It's basically just kind of a big barn attached to the tower, and encompassed by that wall. So it's not verging on castle territory. It would kind of need a few more of these built around and also walled in. But it's definitely a cavalry first sort of arrangement. His men are neatly arrayed on either side of this, where there is kind of just enough room for it. And you notice that each of them, much like Sir Edwin himself, they're all wielding faintly oversized axes instead of lances and swords. And you remember that that's kind of what he's known for, is this unit of axemen. And it's impossible not to know that you're surrounded and that you're in close quarters this way, right? Like you kind of ride into the middle of a cavalry pincer, and even without them attacking, there's that weight on you, right? Of seeing these armed kind of men-at-arms on either side. But Sir Edwin kicks a leg up and over his horse, and nods towards an open barrel. He goes, "We're low on bread, but we have oats. They've been salted. That's the closest I can come." And then he crosses his arms across his broad chest and waits. And yeah, it looks like it's just a big, just what he described basically. It's for storing oats. That's what's going to have to pass as bread and salt.
Is that legit?
It it it's it will serve.
Okay.
Yeah, if
Legit.
it's for formal highborn type of stuff, it's supposed to be bread and salt very literally. But also, if you don't have that, you share what food you can, you know. So yeah, it looks like it's as legit as you're gonna get.
Well,
Okay.
I will get off my horse, and I will go right to the barrel, and I will scoop out some in my hand, pinch myself, and then just kind of dribble it into the others' hands so that they all have a little bit.
Raina gets off her high horse.
Do kind of
And
my
he
job right here.
he stands there as more or less a statue until that is done. And when the last of you makes a bit of a face around this mouthful of dry, faintly salted oats, he gives a matter-of-fact nod and then just turns his back and walks into the tower. I'm assuming that you lot follow. And
Yeah.
sure enough, he has set up a small table with a chair behind it. Get the feeling that normally his solar is not here on the first floor. Maybe that's part of why it took them some time to get a hold of you. He had a couple of men hauling some furniture around to not let people very far into his house, perhaps. But he is seated there behind the table, and he's just looking at the lot of you stony-faced as you file in.
All right, I will step right up to the table then, to the appropriate distance. I'm not even sure what that would be, but across the table directly from him. And
I guess-
sir, what?
No, sorry. I thought we were stating where we were going to place ourselves. So, but it's fine.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I was gonna make a point of kind of flanking Reina by kind of standing to one side, like a half step back, kind of bodyguard formation.
All right. And the visiting lord and knight that have your back, rather literally have your back right now, as they're basically flanking the doors. So they're not quite, those suits of armor that get posted near doors in museums and stuff, but they're pretty close to it.
I'm pretty cool with that, actually. I like the way that feels.
So, as everyone is now arrayed, we're actually going to bust out these social combat rolls. And we're going to do this step by step, partially to do it right, and partially also to show kind of why we haven't done it all campaign. The big reason is that we haven't had very many scenes where our young heroes have been trying to get anybody to do like a 180 in terms of completely changing their attitude and getting a major goal. Normally, it's been stuff like bargaining to sweeten the pot a little bit or making a little bit of a better impression, right? But for this encounter, it's straight up, you are out to intrigue his ass to get something that you want and that sort of thing. So we're going to do this step by step. If it kills us, just to kind of show why we're not doing it.
Simple, standard.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about this system is that there is weight on social roles, but one of the things I hate about it is how much it breaks up role play. It's not bad in a face-to-face setting, but I have heckin' concerns that it's going to feel really kind of stilted here. But the first step is you determine whether it is a simple intrigue, a standard intrigue, or a complex intrigue. Simple intrigues are basically what we've been doing so far. It's been basically just like one roll, just two sides, period, real quick. one roll, compare the totals basically. One side wins, short-term consequence, low stake, quick roll, right? A complex intrigue is, say, 3 or 4 different factions jockeying for position in King's Landing over a long period of time, right? Cersei and Renly and Varys and Littlefinger all trying to get King Robert's ear and see which of them is his number one advisor, right? That sort of long-term stuff with a lot of different directions going on, and a lot of different kind of levels of victory. We're not going to do that one. This is going to be what's called a standard intrigue. We have 2 or more participants. Check. It's occurring over the course of several exchanges. Probably check. Like, unless the dice are really weird. It involves several conflict tests. Yes, because there's going to be several steps that you're going to have to do here. And it's going to have long-term consequences, which is in between the short-term and the far-reaching. So we're basically perfect for a standard intrigue. Step 1, that's establishing the stakes, right? Step 2, establishing the location and participants. We've done that, or rather, Sir Edwin has done that by making it clear kind of the only terms upon which he'll be speaking with you, right? Now, this particular location is going to be giving Sir Edwin some bonuses because it's his house, right? You have had to kind of capitulate a few times to get here, and he is clearly the host, and he clearly has the thing that you want, and that sort of thing. So he's going to be getting some passive bonuses in here. I would rather do that than penalize your die rolls. So he's going to get a bonus instead of you guys having penalties, just because it's more fun to not make subtractions on your end. So that's pretty much handled. And then lastly, we have the objective step. This is where both sides kind of on their own, either openly or secretly, establish what they are after. And our options here are friendship, information, service, or deceit. Deceit is if you're outright out to just heckin' bamboozle someone. That determines the roles that you're making, but it means that your end game is also to completely lie to them. I don't think that's what you guys are out to do, right?
Correct.
So that one's pretty much off the table. You can still use some of the deception-oriented maneuvers, but your end goal isn't convince him that Lord Dagos is dead and he's the Lord of Kingsgrave now, right? Like you're not out to completely fucking, tell him lies about the outside world. Right?
Or are we?
So basically what I'm thinking is you're probably going for information and then friendship and then service, right? This is one of those times that it feels like you want to know why he hasn't served. You want to at least nebulously improve his relation towards you, and then you want to talk him into doing his duty. Does that sound about right? Or are we wanting to go straight to service or what?
I think. Go ahead,
Go
Ash.
ahead.
I'd rather
I'd-
hear what you think first.
All right, Ash first. Stop. Now Ash. There we go.
I think it would be better to go gently on this one because I think going for to get him to do his duty, I think he needs to like us more. To get him to like us more, we need to understand why he doesn't like us right now. So it seems better to understand what we're working with before we start trying to work with it.
So
Yeah.
we're going to start with information.
Does that sound good to Bela also, Erica? I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of doing a meta narrative way. You
Right.
guys aren't turning around and huddling in character real quick. but I do want to get everybody on board. So it sounds like that is the consensus info friendship service, right?
Yeah.
Well, we get to decide at every exchange.
Yeah, you don't have to. You're not locked in, but it does look
Right.
like you're starting with information at
Yeah.
least.
Right.
I mean, and it makes sense though. Get information, establish some sort of good relation, and then move to the service portion.
All right, so that is step 3. Our objectives have been set, or at least we have decided we're not going for deceit. We're going to be nebulously working towards the other 3 outcomes. Step 4, disposition. This is almost like a combat stance in this social combat. You determine what your disposition is to your target on a scale from affectionate to malicious. And that gives you a social defense rating, which is basically an armor rating. And then you get modifiers to your rolls to deceive people versus earnestly persuade people. I know his disposition, and I know it's not the one he started with on his notes. So his disposition has been picked. For the lulz, I just love their example dispositions. We're going to break down these real quick while you 3 that are role-playing, at least, are going to decide what yours are. And if you want, you can write them down somewhere and maybe write them in chat and don't hit enter if you want to keep it secret, right? But do pick your individual character's disposition towards him, because it feels like we also might be tagging people in and out during this, so individual dispositions can vary. So while the players are deciding their individual dispositions, I just want to read off the examples here. The example for affectionate, the affectionate one is Queen Cersei and her son Joffrey. Now this one varies a lot through the books, and it's one that is also how returned it is or not is going to vary throughout the books. Now, the default in these rule books and the campaign guide is chapter 1 of a Game of Thrones, right? So kickoff. But like, sure, okay. So Cersei is affectionate towards Joffrey. Okay. And then the next one is J.R. Mormont is friendly towards Jon Snow. Like, okay, that's not like early in the first book, but sure, you're looking for feelings of kinship and goodwill. So whatever. All right. That's their kind of go-to there. Amiable is it's kind of a positive light. They think you're an acquaintance, but maybe not a friend. That's Renly and Robert. So Renly Baratheon and his brother King Robert are meh towards each other.
Whatever.
And I actually kind of love that one. Like, it's one of my favorite examples.
Still
because
better
it's
than
kind of
Stannis and Robert.
Like, between the Baratheon boys, none of them are terribly close. And, like, most of the time that they're on the same side as one another, like, it's because they're brothers and they're supposed to be, right? So I like that one. Indifferent, that one's just what it sounds like. You're absolute neutral, and I actually think this one's kind of bad because it's Ned Stark towards Renly or Stannis Baratheon. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I feel like he's so fucking affectionate towards Robert that he's at least at, like, amiable towards Renly and Stannis.
I would agree with that. Perhaps a little more towards Renly, given the events of Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know, Stannis
but it's like
laws, and it's very traditional, and then Renly's a very nice person. Yeah, I see him to both of different reasons.
Yeah, so it's an interesting choice there, and then we get into dislike, and as these are getting worse and worse, you get more and more of this like defense rating, but you get different modifiers. The less somebody likes you, the more they get bonuses to deceive you, and the more they get penalties to persuade you. Right? The dislike level. Cersei feels dislike for her brother Tyrion. Now, that one is
It's a
one that,
little underselling it.
right? Like that one absolutely changes throughout the series. But part of that change is that throughout the series, we hear more about how she's always fucking treated him. And you're like, I don't think that's quite dislike.
It doesn't sound quite accurate to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then unfriendly, which is these are feelings that they just simply don't like you. They might be grounded in a good reason or not. They won't seek to actively hurt you, but they won't interfere with other people do actively hurt you. Their sample here is Gregor Clegane is unfriendly towards his brother Sandor.
That seems, again, underselling it.
Yeah, that's another one that you're like, he burnt half his fucking face off over a toy pony, right? Like that one's pretty big.
It's his only driving motivation other than to avoid fire, and it's the reason for that one.
Yes.
It seems a little underselling it, you know.
And then the very last tier, which is malicious, which is just this person is actively working against you. They're doing whatever they can to harm you, even if they're putting themselves at risk. And this one is Sandor Clegane is malicious towards his brother Gregor. So the mountain is unfriendly towards the hound.
I would say it's the other way around. I would say the mountain cares less. The hound fucking hates him.
Well, yeah, no, that this one they actually have right. Gregor versus Sandor is unfriendly. Sandor versus Gregor is malicious.
Yes.
Yeah. So that one I kind of like, but yeah, I get a kick out of them because depending on where you're at in the books or the show, it's pretty big stuff there. The dislike between Cersei and Tyrion that changes over time, right? So yeah, they crack me up. All right, so we've got a couple of them posted in chat here. Raina, do you want to post yours over in our Discord chat along with your siblings? Or do you want to be above board with it? Or do you want to keep it a secret?
I forgot I had muted myself because I had.
There we go.
I'm gonna go with something different for right now.
All right.
Dislike is a little strong.
Do you want to hear
right now,
us describe our thought process since we're kind of explaining how it works?
You
Sorry.
can. There is table on here. I don't know if you guys are working off that table or not. You're allowed not to. It's kind of weird the way it locks people in on disposition sometimes because, like, for instance, you're supposed to get -1 step for somebody being a bastard. And, like, but you guys are in Dorne, right? Like, that's, so some of them are kind of cultural and vary by person to person. But yeah, let's go ahead. Kick us off, Bela. Like, how did you settle on your dislike for him?
So I chose dislike. The reason being that Bela is really martial and is a little bit, even though she's not a knight herself, she respects the culture of duty and that kind of stuff. And so the landed knight that is supposed to be bound in service to the Manwoodies is not receiving the call, and when we get there is openly defiant to us. So I chose dislike there because it would have probably been a little bit indifferent had he been a little bit more friendly in our initial conversations. Of course, that could have been shaped by events with Luke. And it's not to the point of being unfriendly because he does say that there are circumstances that he's not been given proper treatment in return. So she's leaving open the idea that perhaps that he's also been sort of wronged in this case. But still, she settled on dislike because of not having been in contact with the ward that he should have been. and so that she kind of feels like that's a big slight for a knight to do to a lord.
Right, and some of these on the table that I know viewers can't see, but it's things like known for cruelty, known for treachery, stuff like that. So yeah, this sort of kind of dereliction of duty, because it's not necessarily like a betrayal. He's not riding with the Vulture King, but yeah, like especially with the martially minded Bela, I could see that being worth a -1. How about Adam? How'd you settle on?
Right, well, Adam has the naive drawback, so he's a little bit more trusting than most people. And so I've set him at amiable because it's the step up from indifferent, because, like, being naive, you're a little how his naive kind of manifests as, like, being a bit more open to people that he doesn't know, and yeah, so he would normally be indifferent, but I think also he's kind of in a mindset just now. This man has a grievance, and I want to find out what it is, so I can fix it. Because I think for him, yeah, the guy's being rude, and that's not great, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have a legitimate grievance, and he's willing to hear that out. So, like, if it was broken into smaller bits, he'd be at the low end of amiable, but he's in amiable.
So kind of indifferent 0.5, but rounding up a little for naivete. That makes sense. How about Reyna? What are we sitting on there?
I chose it because it does sound like something has been going on here to influence this knight into not in his lord's call, and I'm willing to cut him some slack for that because it would be a smart thing for the Vulture King to do, to alienate Manwoody from his ally, from his band in this way. So I'm giving him being Sir Wynn, Edgar, whatever, Edwin, the benefit of the doubt. And again, it's something that can change, and that's we'll just see what happens. But
So all right, just going for the kind of default neutral stance, and those are all completely fair. I could see different characters taking this all very differently. So I like the dispositions by circumstance chart that they have, but I also like that it's kind of suggestions instead of rules, because some of them are kind of silly. Like somebody from the Night's Watch is -1 step, somebody that's ugly is -1 step, and somebody from a distant land is -1 step. So if a wandering crow stops by and he's just ugly, right? Just the guy's lived a hard fucking life. He's been on the wall for a long time. He's from the Night's Watch. He's not easy on the eyes, and he's from the north, which is specifically the thing. Dornishmen dealing with a Northman, right? Is the example from far away. You guys are supposed to fucking kill that bitch, right? Just like, no, we hate you. I hate you like Sandor hates Gregor. We're going to kill you at our earliest convenience, and I'm bringing my whole family. Like, that's the level it's just supposed to jump, like, straight to -3.
We got another one. Round up the horses.
Yeah. So I do like, though, that they give you these samples, but they do make it clear that it's suggestions more than like rules, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just something I like.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how much your character cares about those particular things. You can just ignore them if they're not a thing your character cares about.
Yeah, and like Adam should have been picking fights the whole time he was up in White Harbor. It's like, I don't like you and you don't like me back, like the whole time, because you're just from far away. So
Where are you from?
Please
Here?
like me.
So yeah, and I guess just everybody in the Night's Watch is supposed to hate everybody else in the Night's Watch, but that one kind of works. because they are all there for not having great reputations on top of all of it. So I guess that's part of why morale is so low up there. But all right, we've got our dispositions set. Dispositions can absolutely evolve throughout. You can raise a disposition through some successful rolls. You can increase your opponent's disposition towards you that way, or you can just set your disposition uh, at the start of every kind of combat round of social combat.
But you can only shift it by one step.
Yeah, so by one step at a time, but it's kind of every round. So
Yeah.
you can pretty quickly change your opinion of somebody. But we've got the starting ones pretty good to go. Which brings us to step 5, initiative. So everybody that's going to be taking part in the intrigue rolls status. And you do get bonus dice from reputation. Let's go ahead and have everybody roll, even if you don't plan on necessarily taking part in like each exchange. Let's get those rolls just because we're trying to do it right.
Status plus
Yeah, if you have the reputation specialty, you get that. And then as heir, like don't forget you've got a passive bonus on status rolls.
oh yeah, I
and-
rolled authority, but not air.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
and other things can also modify these.
Oh no, wait, hold on. I'm just checking my things because I've got a couple of things that I think are going to be relevant, but they're not for initiative. So
Right, no problem. Who's got a number for me?
though, hang on, I do have a thing that says before engaging in an intrigue, your status counts as one rank higher for the purpose of influencing a target without fully engaging in the intrigue.
Yeah, that's just the simple intrigues. That's
Okay.
the one-shot ones that you guys have been doing until now. Yeah, no.
Alright, so we keep like I have status. We keep the status amount just like we do on a regular roll. We don't keep the bonus die amount.
Right, yeah. Reputation is a bonus die, like a normal kind of skill check thing.
Right.
All right, so Bela rocked a 15. What do we got? Reyna and or Adam.
12. I got.
18.
Okay then. That actually kind of works out. So Reyna, you are up first. And step 6 is choosing your technique. So as they put it, if dispositions are armor, techniques are the weapons. Choosing what technique you're after is the one that determines what specialty you're going to use on the roll and what skill. And then it also determines your influence damage. Influence is your hit points, basically, in a social combat. And the amount of influence you do as a base damage is based on what technique you're using. So Reyna, you're going to be up first. You're going to be kind of making some opening statement here. So let's take a look and see what technique you think you're going to use.
I have brand new specialty or bonus die in charm that I got while we were at Keep. Because
Okay.
we were being nice to people. So I am going to open with the charm.
All right. Now, you don't have to go ahead and open with that Persuade Charm roll because there's one more cool step, and that is step 8, which are the various actions and tech. In addition to the default, which is the influence action, which is kind of the attack, right? You've got some other options. You can assist someone else by just giving them half your persuasion as a bonus. You can consider your opponent, where instead of taking an action this turn, you get +2 bonus dice the next time. So like the action you take the next round. So that's just kind of, taking aim, right? You can fast talk, which I love their description. You unleash a stream of nonsense to distract your opponent. And I just picture, but this one is a persuasion test against their passive will. And if you do well enough, they just don't get to add their cunning to their intrigue defense till the end of the next exchange. So that one's just kind of distracting and feinting, if you will, in combat.
It's like the Gish Gallop of, of debating techniques.
Manipulating. What's that?
It's like the Gish Gallop of debating techniques. You just throw out so much stuff that the other person can't possibly like process it or address all of it.
Kind of.
You just like fluster them.
Yeah. You can manipulate somebody if you beat their passive will with a persuasion. And this one, I've never seen it used well because it's kind of crazy. You can set your opponent's technique on the following round. So you can be so persuasive against their will that, like, they have to roll seduce against you next turn. Right? Like, so that's kind of weird.
I think,
but yeah.
Perhaps that works better in like a room with like lots of different parties where you can kind of like manipulate one person to take some sort of an action against another person.
Right. That's one that works better in a larger thing. But I've always just loved the idea of like, all right, I'm going to roll up onto him and I'm going to persuade them to seduce me. And you're like, I guess that is kind of how that works. Like,
really good at flirting here.
That's how I got Felicia, but yeah. Yeah, what's up, Ash?
Now, as I understand it, you can have, I think it's either one or up to two people assisting. There's things like mollify and stuff like that. At what point in the proceeding does that happen?
Yes.
When it's your turn and you get to choose an action. And actually, mollify is up next. The mollify action is almost like healing. You can repair damage to somebody's composure. Composure is the social hit points. With a persuasion test, you can kind of go, hey, listen, I'm sorry, my buddy's a dick, or whatever. I allow mollify to also work as kind of catch a breath on yourself. Remember the take a breather, I think it is. As written, mollify is just helping someone else. So you can go like, hey, Raina, he didn't mean that thing he said about our mom, right? Or whatever. You can kind of help someone else with it, but I let people also try to use it on themselves. You can quit. You can just go, no, fuck you, I'm out of this. And you can just suffer the consequences for fucking leaving, which sometimes isn't much, right? If somebody's trying to bargain with you on the street, you can just walk away and not buy their stuff, right? But sometimes that's pretty bad, right? If Robert Baratheon is intimidating you and you just get up and go away, you're gonna have to eat some shit, right? You can read the target, which is also kind of an aim action, making an awareness roll, and if you succeed, you learn your target's disposition, which is kind of handy, and the technique that they're using, and then you also get +1 die on deception and persuasion.
What was that called?
For the rest of the intrigue.
Read the target.
Yeah, read target's a pretty
Does empathy count as a bonus die for that? Because I have empathy.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I might actually be doing that in the beginning.
Yeah, read target's a pretty solid one.
It's mostly how when we've ever done this, like in person, it's opening of every kind of, conflict like this was retarget. You got to know what you're dealing with, right?
And
an assumption you could be assuming bad.
We've got a couple options to go. I just want viewers to get all of them. Shield of Reputation is just, oh, how dare you, clutching your pearls type of thing. And you fall back on making a status test against your opponent's will. And if you succeed, you automatically improve their disposition by just kind of reminding them who you are. So somebody like Queen Cersei could just subtly show off, the crown or something like that, and your disposition does not matter. It automatically goes up by 1. You can only do it once per intrigue. You can switch to combat, which is kind of like quit but nastier. And then, last but not least, you can shore up your defenses with a withdraw action. You get to roll will dedication, so that dedication specialty, and that becomes your intrigue defense for the next round. So that's kind of your full dodge or full parry. So that's our options, everybody. I like it. I like that the system exists. I like that there are kind of combat maneuvers, just like there are in, the manly art of fisticuffs and or stabinating people. So there's neat. There's lots of stuff that you can do in it. And the only one that's the kind of default action is that influence. But everyone's got those options, but Reyna has that option first. So she gets to make the first call because she has the highest initiative after that status check. So Reyna, take it away.
How do you want me to do this? Do you want me to say what I'm going to say and then tell you what I'm doing, what I'm using? Or do you want me to tell you what I'm using and then make my statement, my opening statement?
Let's role play it out first and then kind of declare your action. And I like to give modifiers based on how well I think they fit kind of what's going on, which is what I like to do even in D&D or other kind of like one role systems. I like to, give the benefit of the doubt to the role play. So kind of role play it and then tell me how that is feeding into the maneuver you are choosing. Sorry, the action.
Don't mess me up with the terms. I'm just getting on my phone. Alright, well, Reyna will, since the man is setting, I'm actually beyond, like, eye level with him. But, look him right in the eye and Sir Edwin, we've come on behalf of Lord Manwood because he is in dire straits, and we were called upon by the king to assist him. And we understand that everything in this region is currently in upset because of the actions of the so-called Vulture King. And we are here to help reunite you with your lord so that we can march into battle against the king of Vulture.
Yeah, King. Yeah, don't stop it, King.
All right. So what is your action gonna be that goes with all?
My action is going to be read target.
All right. So just kind of out to see how he responds to that fairly earnest statement of your position, right?
Right.
So let's go ahead and bust out awareness, and then you do get the empathy specialty if you've got it.
May I go ahead and
Puts us
roll that as well, since that's what I'm going to be doing and I'm not going to be talking yet?
Sure. Go ahead.
nice. 23.
Okay. That is against the passive deception of a landed knight. So good news, yes. That is a success for both of you. Erica just shared her numbers in our chat because she has to run off and take care of something AFK. So that is a success for both of you. The basic information that you are going to receive from this is if you equal or beat their passive deception, you get their disposition and the technique they're using for this exchange. Um, his disposition is unfriendly, and his opening technique, which is to say, kind of his stance, the skill he plans on leaning on, is making sure I'm finding the right one, using the right word, convince. So you will both, you two will get that information. The twins now know that he is kind of rankling a bit at unfriendly, and he's planning to lean on convince at least this round. And that's Reyna's action, and also Bela's. So next up, we're going to be going to Adam at initiative 12.
Right. Do you want me to, in character, say what I'm saying if I'm saying something before taking action?
Yeah, like if you're wanting to speak up before he does, like
Yeah.
let's go ahead. You know, if you
Yeah.
don't want to like interrupt and speak up, you can pick one of the actions that doesn't
Sure.
necessarily require that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I want to make a short kind of supporting statement, to kind of try and help with that disposition, I guess. Should have thought about this.
Say their downside
Sir,
to this system.
yeah. Sir, it's clear that you have agreed.
Charging battery.
And
Charge
I
complete.
hope that you will share it with us. I've no doubt that I'm sure your concerns are legitimate. But however you may think of us and your lord at the moment, talking about it is the first step to addressing the problem and hopefully finding a more equitable solution. Is that Bodhi?
all right. Yes, it's Bodhi. It is perilously close to 5 o'clock, so she is starving to death. So yeah,
Okay, so-
it's getting.
So yeah, I was planning on using Mollify.
Okay. Nobody's taken any social damage yet.
Oh right, okay. I guess like
That would probably fit pretty well with an assist. If
Yeah,
you
I
want
guess-
to give. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean that was my intention, was to kind of sorry, like I guess I kind of didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, the word mollify is definitely what you're after. It's just not the action mollify yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
to
I guess
me, I'd say that.
It could be
I'm
an
figuring
assist.
I'm figuring it like I mean it would probably be charm or convince, but I mean like, what's the difference between an assist and rolling for myself?
So that difference there would be then you choosing to do an influence roll, to try and kind of get to the bottom of things. So it's a matter of, are you wanting to kind of open that level of back and forth, or are you wanting to kind of support what Reyna opened with so that Reyna's next roll is better? It's kind of your call there.
Either way,
I think-
really works.
Okay, I think it's probably a better fit for what Adam's trying to do, for it to be its own role.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a kind of, it's a parallel sort of thread he's doing, but it's not necessarily going to always be directly tied to what Reyna says. Because I think like what Adam has said is different enough that that it's kind of its own thing, and I think it could probably be like convince, maybe.
All right, then. Persuasion, convince.
Okay, now,
You're trying to influence, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, so just going for like the first social attack, as it were.
Go,
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah, this is very much softly, catchy monkey. Now, do my I've got two relevant things. Does the bonus from attractive apply to this, where I can re-roll a couple of ones? And
Yes, it's a persuade roll. So yep.
Yeah, and Blood of Valeria gives +2 to intimidate and persuasion. Does that count in a standard intrigue?
Yeah, it's +2 to persuasion. Intimidate's actually a specialty of persuade. They just kind of screwed that up in the book.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just wanted to check, because some of them only apply to simple intrigues. So
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I didn't roll any ones, so that's something. Okay. So that is 22.
All right, give me 1 second as we compare to his social defense. All right, and what is 1 second under convince? Blah blah blah. What is your base damage with convince? It is base. Where are we at? Technique, convince. Influence is your will rank. So what is your will rank?
I think it's 4. Let me check. No, it's 3. No, courage isn't going to be relevant. So 3.
Yeah. It's all right. So your base damage is 3. You basically just made an attack roll against his intrigue defense. You've got X number of bonus successes, or degrees of success, or whatever the phrase is. And that's going to multiply your will rank, which is your base damage on this. And oh yeah, as Erica just mentioned, did that count your amiable?
No, I didn't. So it's actually 23.
Yeah, it's only one more, so you're not going to get another degree from it. But yeah, good looking out.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that much damage. He's got that much DR. All right. He doesn't he does not use the switch to combat action in response. He does not quit. It's a little bit tougher to read people in this. You're not necessarily drawing blood, but it is his turn. And he is going to, again, he's listening politely enough. He's not raging and cutting people off, or anything like that. He's giving people kind of their chances to speak. But then he just says, "You've come to get to the bottom of a dispute between my lord and myself. Why should I listen to you when I'm not even certain I should listen to him after he's abandoned us here? This..." Sorry, allergies have been awful this week again. He's going to go straight to an influence roll also, and just kind of come out swinging with a convince check at Reyna, because she's kind of taking point. She talked first. So now I've got his attack roll, for lack of a better term. And what is your social defense, Reyna? Intrigue defense, excuse me.
Intrigue defense. My intrigue defense is
Sorry, you cut off on me.
12.
Alrighty. It's going to be that. Convince is based on will. Alright, you are taking 12 points of composure, modified by your indifferent DR. He clearly feels very strongly that he is the aggrieved party here, and that sincerity is absolutely coming through for his action here at the end of first. That brings us to step 9, which is repeat. Is anybody wanting to change their dispositions by a rank as we move into the second round? Everybody staying put? All right then. I'm not going to have us roll initiative every turn, just like I don't do that with most fights. So we're going to leave, the scene is clearly the same. The objectives, still basically the same, sounds like. Dispositions are the same. So we move on to step 5, initiative. We're skipping that. We go straight to technique. Reyna, what is your technique and then your action?
My technique will be convince, influence.
Alrighty. Lay some logic upside his head.
To be honest, sir, we, as outside and mostly not impassioned parties, are the perfect people to help solve this problem between you and your lord. For we are not insulted on either side and are therefore in an excellent position to help unite you again.
Alrighty, sling them dice. Give yourself a +1.
Now I have. Did I use my charm last round? No, I did the
Nope.
free thing.
So you're going to have persuasion, convince, specialty, and then you've got +1 die on this from the successful read target.
And a +1 on my roll.
Yep, +1 total, just situation RP quality type of thing.
Oh, it's a 13.
All right, and convince is will damage. What is your will?
4.
Okay. The composure damage has been noted. And Bela, you're up.
I would like to make an assist technique, I guess.
All right. That is a difficulty 9 persuasion test, and it's going to let you lend half your persuasion to one of your allies' next test results. Do you want to help Reyna or Adam?
I will help
You're
Reyna.
cutting out on me,
Oh,
Erica.
sorry, Reyna. I was sort of like mumbling because I wasn't sure.
Okay, sorry. I saw your lips moving and I didn't hear it. So I'm like, I don't know if Erica is deciding or if Discord's being a pain in.
Yeah, this is both Erica and Bela being a little bit less sure of herself in this social situation, and so she's a little bit less direct. So she'll say that the importance it's important to get this settled swiftly, as the battle with the Vulture King is nigh, and if it does not have a satisfactory outcome, it puts all of us in danger in the future.
Alrighty, give me that persuasion test. No specialties on this one. It's just base persuade. I am gonna say though, what's your persuasion rank?
It's 3.
Okay, so you've only got +1 to
Yeah.
distribute then. So all right, go ahead. If you had a 4 and you were able to give out +2, I would let you split it potentially between them. But yeah, at the 1, it's not gonna happen.
I have a 15. I'm
All
all
right.
15s today. That's like the third
Yeah.
time that's come up.
Notice that. So all right, Reyna, you've got a +1 in your pocket next turn.
Is it
on your next conflict test.
is that just a +1 to the total, or is it +1 die?
Yeah, it's just +1 to the total.
Oh, okay. Well, I doubt I'll choose that action again.
All right, and then we go to Adam, who's gonna dogpile on this dude, not in a sexy way.
Or he might mollify and help me get some of my composure, but I don't know.
Oh, I could have done that. That would have been better.
Just a wee second. Yeah, so I just like I was like writing down what I wanted to say, so I made sure that I said it.
Aww.
I was just kind of scripting myself on the hoof. So I think I'm going to stick with. Oh, I'll see. Right. I don't know if this is like charm or convince. It could be either, I guess. But Adam's going to say, I'm sure it would look well for you to temporarily set aside your quarrel with Lord Manwoody to defeat this blight upon the land, your lands included. After the Vulture King is dealt with, I'm sure that the fact that you cooperated graciously would go far in getting what you feel you lack from your liege lord.
That sounds pretty convincing to me.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get him to like you personally. You're trying to convince him. So, all right, go ahead. Is the plan just an influence roll here? The kind of attack op?
Yeah.
Alrighty, lay him on me.
I can reroll it. That's better. Okay, that is 19.
Okay. And your will was 3, right?
3, yeah.
Okay. The composure damage is noted. He will come back with just kind of leaning forward, little bit of agitation on him as he was initially starting talking, and he's just kind of lean back now, and he steeples his fingers as the three of you are all talking to him, and he gives you an appraising squint that you recognize all too well as somebody appraising you. He is going to fall back on a read target and just let you guys kind of talk for a round without answering. And I'm going to roll that to determine which of you he reads first. Okay. And we loop back around to Rain. And out of character, I'm not asking you guys, like, on a successful read target, he gets your disposition and technique. I just already know that because I'm the GM. So that's not why he's doing it. So that's why I wasn't stopping to ask. But yeah, Raina, you are up.
All right. This is the problem I have with the intrigues, okay? I have trouble keeping track of what was actually said.
Yeah.
Is it something we can help with?
I remember that you suggested that he help us so that makes him look good to his lord, thereby ingratiating himself into his lord's good graces is kind of how I read that. Which
Yeah, I guess I was kind of like slightly buttering him up, I guess, a bit of saying, like, if you put aside your grievance for now to help us deal with the Vulture King, that'll make you look good, and whatever it is you feel that you've been denied by your liege lord will, like, you'll be in a much better position to get the respect or whatever it is you want from him.
And Ayla had pulled you into that by talking about how we need to pull together right now to work against the Vulture King. Okay, so I will follow all of that up with I'm gonna switch to charm and influence,
That sounds good.
and I'm going to go with uh, uh,
We've been fucked over by our bosses before too.
yeah. I'm like that's where I'm going. We're gonna establish that rapport, maybe.
Yeah, it's empathizing with plights, etc., etc.
Right.
is
But
a
I don't
charm
want to
thing.
do it too. I mean, I don't want. She's not going to stretch too far outside of her comfort zone. So this is what she's going to say.
I understand.
I
Next
understand.
next round. Just that's it.
There.
Stop.
There.
I understand. No. As the heir to my house, Sir Edwin, I feel very strongly about the bonds of responsibility and give and take between houses in the liege and banner house contract. And it is unconscionable to willingly allow your houses to suffer without assisting them. That is a violation of not just the contract, but of the bond that is built between lords and knights. And I cannot believe that Lord Dagos would have done this to you willingly or knowingly. And I cast blame right now openly on the Vulture King himself for somehow sabotaging you and then alienating you from your lord. And I beg of you to consider that when balancing the profit versus loss in this situation.
Okay. Kind of didn't stick the landing there.
I know. I couldn't think of a way
Felt
to
weird
wrap
and
it.
bargainy. It's all right. Go ahead and sling them down. We'll go Persuade Charm. You've got a +1 from Bela's assist. And don't forget your +1 extra whole ass die from the successful read target.
Alright, hold on. I gotta look at my character sheet again. I just don't want to miss anything.
Also, just as a general guide, remember to go a little bit shorter sometimes, everybody, because it is supposed to be a little bit more of a back and forth. No, it's I didn't say you.
Yeah, it's hard.
Wife, you talk too much. I wasn't doing that on the internet.
It's hard to know how much back and forth is correct because it feels like you need to make a whole argument because that's what we're used to doing.
Yeah.
All right. I have a +1 from Bay, which gives me a total of 23 again.
All right. And this was a charm, not a convince. Correct? All right. The base influence damage of this is your persuasion rank. So what is that?
Also a 4.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
What's that? And I have, authority and air and blood of Valyria. Blood of Valyria.
Have you been not... Yeah, Blood of Valyria is a +2 on persuasion.
Alright, so +2 more, 25.
Alright, so 25. Okay. But your base damage is 4, correct? Okay. He is listening intently, and rather patiently, you feel. So maybe something is starting to get through. And now it is Bela's turn.
All right. I'm going to try to mollify Reyna some. Um, and I'm just gonna tell her, don't forget to try to find out what his grievances actually are.
Right.
All right. That is a persuasion test.
Dang it! Why can't I deception this?
You're like, I'd rather deceive.
And the other thing is because you're also not lying, right? I mean, you're not like.
Is that the key?
even
Like, if
this
I.
was
Okay.
Please don't.
How would you know if I'm? Oh, are you 15? Like, I'm not kidding.
that is just your number today.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say that mollifies between the siblings here most of the time are going to be difficulty 9 instead of difficulty 12. Just because, like, unless you guys are arguing with each other, which could fuck that dynamic up, for the most part, we're going to just make that a little easier. So that's going to be an extra degree of success. So you restore composure to Reyna equal to your persuasion rank plus 1.
To my persuasion rank?
Yep.
So that would be a 3 plus 1 is 4.
All right, so Reyna, you get back 4 of your composure points.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right, so keeping her on track, reminds her she's focused, she's doing good, and let's circle back around to Adam.
Yes, quite right, sister, to remind us of that. Sir Edwin, would you be willing to tell us what happened? That's my action.
Let's make that an influence, and because of how your eyebrows went up in the middle a little bit plaintively, let's make that a charm. Because it was kind of an if it's okay with you, you can tell us, not a we need to know. Right? So let's go charm.
Yeah, it was a kind of I'm listening.
Yep.
Plaintive
So
eyebrow.
persuasion charm.
Yes. Oh, goody, I can reroll those. Ah, that was falling over. Never mind. Right. Okay, that is 20.
All right, and that's with blood of Valyrian
That's with everything, yeah.
and everything. Okay, just making sure. And that's also with the amiable.
Yes.
Okay, like I said, this is new to all of us, so I'm just kind of trying to double check.
Yeah, no, that's
So, all right, and what is your persuasion rank? Because that's the base damage on a charm. Ash,
Sorry?
what's your persuasion rank?
Oh, my persuasion.
That's the base damage.
Yeah, oh, right. Well, it was. Persuasion rank is 4.
All right.
Anything, does anything else modify that?
There might be some quality somewhere. But yeah, for the basics of this, it's just that's the base damage is 4, so it's that times. Go ahead.
Can I just ask then, like, why was my base damage 3 previously and it's 4 now?
Because you were doing convince, not charm, and the technique changes the attribute. On convince rolls, your base social stuff is based on your will.
Oh, right.
On charm rolls, your base damage, your influence damage, is based on your persuasion rank.
Right, okay, it makes sense now.
Right. It does.
All right. So with that, for the record, you guys have officially succeeded in the first of your 3 goals. We were starting with information. That was enough to drop his composure, and he's not going to modify that damage at this stage by taking frustration, which is kind of the injuries, wounds of social things. So his composure has reached 0. You have successfully defeated him with a charm roll. Now, what this does is you improve the target's disposition by 1 step, and that's going to last until you guys would worsen that disposition. And so all of you, his disposition is going to go up by 1, but Adam only, you get +1 die on deception and persuasion tests during the next intrigue against him. So the read target is now gone from the sisters because that intrigue is over. You have met your goal, so that read target is gone. He didn't even get to use his. And now Ash has picked up one by being the one that kind of beat the monster. He beat the stream boss. So everybody's going to get the information, but Ash is going to get that that boost. So in the role play of it, you have openly and kind of earnestly asked him his issue amidst a flurry of words from your sisters who are like, we need to pull together right now. Your lord needs you. He's failed you. The Vulture King caused this. Time is of the essence, yada, yada. And here, you kind of visibly see Sir Edwin crack as he loses the last of that composure. And he slams a palm down on his desk as he goes from like leaning back to like leaning forward. And he says, oh, time is of the essence now. My lord needs me now. He did not answer when the Vulture King threatened my people, and he did not answer the ravens or riders I sent after she died. And now he needs my help. Now, after my wife is dead, he asks me for my blades when he would not send his when I begged him. You guys got your first bit of information. And you remember, in kind of a flashback, he's supposed to be married. And the lady of the keep has not met with you. The lady of the keep is Alea, A-L-E-A. And it sounds like she is no longer the lady of the keep. In the interest of not just rolling dice for no reason, we're going to keep initiatives the same as we move into this new intrigue. So we're not going to re-roll that status test, okay? The scene is the same. Your objective now is either friendship or service. Sounds like you're moving to one of those two. Dispositions. Would anyone like to set a new disposition at this point? His has just been changed some. So I'm going to leave his kind of where you guys are steering it. But players are free to change their dispositions here at the start of a new one.
I'm sticking with mine as it is for now.
Okay, so you're staying amiable. Any changes from the sisters?
Not
I don't know, man.
yet.
I'm gonna say indifferent.
I'm gonna stay
Okay.
the same at dislike for right now.
Alrighty. Bayla's not a romantic yet. She's new to all this. All right. Like I said, initiative, we're going to skip. So we go right around to technique with Reyna. You are up next in the face of this information. To recap, because we just did all the out-of-character breakdown, he sent the 2 ravens he has, and he sent some riders. He was never answered for the weeks, presumably, that he has been absent. And that included ravens and riders begging for help and then informing his lord that his wife died and begging for help again.
And
So
to
that
be
was-
absolutely clear, Lord Dagos said shit all about any of that.
Yeah, Lord Dagos has not heard from him in some time. He said, weeks, probably close to a month. He had not heard any of that. or at least he had not told it to you, but he seemed like the sort that would give you that. He's not Mr. Johnson out to fuck over the Shadowrunners, right? Like he probably would have mentioned that before sending you guys here.
I am going to use.
If you want, all three of you could just open with read targets. He might keep talking.
I will do a read target because I have been hit with a wave of empathy, and I don't want that to influence me too much.
Yep,
So
I will do that as well.
All right, so yeah, that's an awareness empathy roll against his passive deception. Bela, what did you land on? Is it 15?
It is not. It's at 20 this time.
I'm a little disappointed in you.
I know. Well, it was 5 dice, keep 4.
I got the 15.
There we go.
All right. As long as one of the twins gets it. All right, you both succeed. For starters, he does not seem to be lying. I know read target doesn't say you can tell if anybody lies to you ever, but it's like that at least. You definitely got that from him. He is now at dislike, which is one closer to neutral. So he's still clearly upset and kind of blaming the messenger to an extent, but he's at dislike, and he is sticking on convince, looks like.
Yeah.
So that does it for Reyna and Bela. Sounds like neither of you are wanting to interrupt.
No, just like
Adam's better with touchy-feely stuff.
yeah,
So.
it's like
so
out of character. Like I can understand that. Like if he's not getting any responses, this is the first time he's being able to like vent about this. So like yeah, I get it. Like Erica gets it.
Is Adam wanting to speak up, or you want to kind of wait and see if he's going to keep going, or what sounds good?
I want to say something.
Do you want to try and make a quick roll to remember more about his wife?
Yeah.
That's an option. I'm going to say all three of you can do that. It might help in later conversations.
Okay.
Would that be instead? Would that be instead of my action?
It's not going to cost you your action to do this one. So let's roll either cunning memory, or I'm going to also allow status as the kind of default etiquette and knowing heraldry and family knowledge and stuff.
Breeding.
So whichever of those you are better at. And
Breeding might actually be useful here.
Yeah, breeding specialty. This not the way that they use the word. You're not like remembering a hound's bloodline here, but yes, breeding as the default etiquette. In this case, you're not remembering the breeding of his dead wife. But yes.
So I'm very happy you allowed that alternate way because my cunning remembering was a 3 when I rolled it. But this is much better at 20 for knowing.
All right.
20
Oh wow.
And it looked like you had a question though, Ash. Were you wanting to ask something, or were you good?
I was rolling.
Okay, I thought I saw you do a finger up before that, so I wanted to make sure I got your question.
No, I think you answered my previous one, so I'm fine.
All right. You remember that she was Alea Estrin from a Westerland's house, and that kind of whirlwindy romance type of thing. He got a few offers once he became a landed knight those 20 years ago, and she was a blushing maiden fair. They did not ever have children that you lot heard of, but she was kind of, in the same way he's got this sun-bleached hair that probably started out brown and is now kind of yellow just from being in the Dornish sun. She was that kind of go-to Westerland's beauty, right? Cersei writ small in the looks department for a while there. and they'd been together almost 20 years at this point. So you remember she's a Westerlands maiden from a pretty decent house, and it was a good match for a landed knight, and by all accounts, they got on just fine. So anyways, yeah, that's just a freebie there. And now we'll circle back around to Ash. Just figured that might have played into what you were wanting to say, so give you guys that information because it could give you modifiers.
It has helped me put a personal touch on it, certainly. I am truly sorry that your calls were not answered, sir, and I am sorry for the loss of your wife. As I understand, she was a great beauty and a joy to all who knew her. I cannot imagine the grief that you feel. However, there is a possibility that since the Vulture King was setting about your lands, he may have intercepted your attempts to call for aid. I can completely empathize with your anger and your feelings of abandonment. I can understand completely if you do not wish to give him the benefit of the doubt at the moment. But there is a strong possibility that Lord Manwoody simply never received words. And I'm sure that he will share in your grief to hear of this tragedy and want to help you avenge Lady Alea.
All right. I'm going to say that one's your call. Do you want to make it a charm or a convince?
I think I want to make it a charm, because I think I'm just trying to connect with him and sort of let him know that his grief and anger is being taken seriously.
All right then. Sling them bones. Go ahead and get a bonus die. Not an extra whole kept die, but just one extra bonus die mixed in there.
Okay, and I'm going to be using my +1 that I got from last time.
Right, so you do have that extra die to roll and keep. So you're rolling like persuasion plus charm plus 2 dice.
Yeah, I'm dropping a couple still. Right, so 18. Right, with all the bonuses and stuff, it's 25.
Nice. All right. So 1 second as I match.
Adam's calling on all the heartbreak he knows.
Okay. He doesn't like reel from your conversation, but it does look like it's enough that he is still kind of cracked open, and letting some words pour out in a way that he maybe wouldn't if he wasn't kind of feeling vulnerable and exposed or whatever. And he was, it's as soon as we got word that they were threatening Lowfields, that they were visiting Lowfields, the bastard had a small siege here in the tower and kept us from assisting out of character, Andric. My bad, I fucked that up. He didn't. From assisting Andric and his people, and as soon as the siege was lifted, she insisted on riding out and helping them, and she just never came back. And what kind of lord lets that happen? And what kind of husband? So he's gonna drop a big fat convince roll. 1 second.
Oh man, I really feel for the guy.
Sorry, it's not actually convince, it's just influence. I just used the wrong word because every word that means anything in a conversation is a special technique in this chapter. So 1 second.
Sorry that I went on longer than I was supposed to.
It's fine. You're all right. All right.
Watch your bonus die.
All right. So that's what we're going. Let me do the math now. All right. And he is gonna spend that in order to keep that, because ain't nobody want to drop a 5. So okay. Adam, what is your intrigue defense?
My intrigue defense. Right now, if this is someone, oh no, it's right. Never mind. My intrigue defense is 8.
Okay.
Well,
So
I think when
it's awareness plus cunning plus status.
Oh wait, I might have put it on. Let me just check this. No, it's actually, it should be 10. Sorry,
Very good.
because
All right, no problem.
because it was 8 at character gen and I just didn't update it.
Okay. You just got hit for 16 composure with a convince roll. What's your DR at amiable?
3.
3? All right, so that's 11 composure coming your way.
Okay.
13.
Well, my composure is 9, so I need. Is there anything I can do about that?
If you want to, you can You can take a frustration, which is essentially a wound in social terms. You're at -1 die for all those tests, or just so you know the consequences of this roll, he just defeated you with a convince roll. So what he's trying to do is get you to honestly assist him with understanding his position and airing his grievance to Lord Dagos, or maybe even your sisters. I'm not going to say you have to change sides in a fight right now, like in the middle, but that's the level he's going on.
I mean, I think that kind of sounds fair enough. Like, I think at this point, like Adam would be certainly on board for supporting him in putting his case to Lord Manwoody.
All right.
I mean, like, I don't think, like, I mean, Adam's not going to, like, abandon the other goals or anything,
Like,
but...
he's not going to just, like, stay in the tower when everybody else leaves. No, I'm a Wynn now.
But, like, if, like, Sir Wynn goes, like, I want to count on you backing me up when I take this grievance to Lord Manwoody, Adam would be like, yeah, like, you've got a legitimate grievance here.
So that's the effect he's going for, is you... He's honestly looking for your assistance in explaining this, or maybe even taking his side in the influence fight or the intrigue fight later on. That's what you got walloped with there.
Okay. So,
right?
what do I do in, like, composure wise? Do I reduce to 0 or -2 or what?
Now you've been beaten in that intrigue, and he got that consequence. So your intrigue fills back up, just like his did after you guys beat him. Your goal initially was information. He gave you that, so his intrigue comes back.
Okay.
He has been looking for assistance all along, and he just finished that, so your influence, composure, all comes back.
So I'm confused then, because we started out with seeking information, and now we have it. Does mine also refresh?
No, because you were not defeated.
Okay.
So it's basically when somebody runs out of all of their composure, a thing happens, and that's based on what technique people were using against them and what the goal is. But then they get their intrigue back if people are continuing to intrigue them to keep things going. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And then it circles back around to Reyna. You were wearing him down, I believe, working... it might matter at this point. Is your stated goal friendship or assistance? Like, are you still wanting to butter him up more, or are you wanting to go... Like, listen, bro, like, you've got to come with us and help out. Like, are you wanting to just keep working towards friendship, or is your goal now more the going right to the assistance?
goal is still on friendship.
Your goal is still what? I'm sorry?
I'm thinking I'm still gonna go with friendship.
All right.
But if you ask her, it's influence, or it's the other one.
Service.
I'm not asking her. I'm asking you out of character in case you guys beat this guy. Like, are you working towards friendship or a
Service.
service? Sorry, not assist.
I'm still working towards service. I think
Okay.
Adam has the friendship part covered.
So you're now targeting service as your goal. Any changes in disposition from anyone else? His has been changing. Anybody else? As we start a new round?
I think it would probably make sense that he's won Adam over a bit more, so it would maybe make sense for Adam's disposition to go up a bit.
Okay, then. That is
So
just fine.
So I think he's going to move to friendly.
All right. Reyna.
I am definitely moving to amiable.
All righty.
I wish there were a step between indifferent and amiable.
Right, there isn't. But, so that'll get you a +1 on a persuade roll. You read target last round, so you've got a whole extra die on this.
Extra die.
Feel-
I am going with persuade and actually I might use shield of reputation here.
Okay. To just bump his disposition up a level.
Shield of reputation is versus a passive will, right?
Yes. So your status against and reputation applies, that specialty, but it's your status against his passive will. And if you succeed on the roll, his disposition bumps up by a step. You can only use it once, but it lowers that defense rating.
But the last thing he said was he was talking about wanting us, Adam specifically, because that's who he was talking to back him up in airing his grievances against his lord.
Basically, yeah.
Right. I want him to be able to do that too.
And you could basically, and that could be as simple as House Nymaryen will assist you in that, right? Like as heir, like it could be just a zingy freaking one-liner, and that would totally be that status roll that your heir gives you a bonus on. Yeah, and that would definitely handle a shield of reputation roll.
All right. That's what I will do. And
In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say take the +2 for Valyrian blood also. So the passive bonus that you get for being heir on all status tests, I know this isn't a persuasion test, but I'm going to say that because as heir you're speaking for House Nymaryen right now, that Valyrian blood game is strong. So that'll be another +2 total to this.
I will just like set my hand down on the edge of the table because I've been keeping like one hand on the pommel of my sword and the other one kind of crossed on it. And I take it off and I put it on the table. I mean, openly, I am no longer even casually touching my weapon, which is what it was. It was just kind of an at-rest thing. But the old blood runs strong in House Nymaryen, and we will absolutely support you in bringing your grievances to Lord Dagos.
Alrighty, sling them status dice. Yeah, that beats his passive will. So yes, his disposition has improved by one.
So now is it amiable as well?
I don't know. Is he?
Yes. Because Adam brought him from dislike to indifferent, and I just brought him from indifferent to amiable.
Stop metagaming, Alicia.
Oh my
So
god,
yeah,
Alicia.
he has bumped up a level. Bela, what are we up to?
Um, so I have two different thoughts, and um, I I think she would. So so on one hand, I'm trying to figure out a way to shoehorn in me using deception because that's what my character is like good at. But at the same time, I think she would actually try to say instead something that's a little bit more truthful in that she's trying to get him to um, mobilize his force against the Vulture King. So I think she would just do a standard persuasion convince
Okay.
instead.
As a thought, this is just something that is very appropriate for Bela to kind of wield. Has anybody told him like the size of the army or anything? Like he only knows that there's two other people here.
Yeah.
So that might be something you could use to convince him that like, listen, we can take care of this Vulture King, and Bela's the one that's in charge of that army. So just saying that might be something that could help on that convince roll would be letting him know, that this army is a thing and like,
You'd
you
be on
know,
the winning side of it.
and I'd say Bela in particular is
That
in
would
a
lean more
position to
towards
kind of wield that bludgeon because it's also like, hey, come join my army. It's pretty dope.
Hey kid, I'm putting together a crew.
Yeah, like, it'd be like, this scene's gonna end with you son of a bitch, I'm in.
All right.
You son of a bitch, you have my sword.
All right. All right. So I'll say, yeah. So I'm putting, I'm leading an army of about 1,200 soldiers right now to go and fight the Vulture King. We need your support. Oh wait, and there's the lie, because in Bela's mind, she doesn't necessarily need his support from this to win, but she's gonna say, and we need your support in order to ensure we have a victory over the Vulture King to make this whole area safe again.
and avenge your wife's death.
Well,
All right.
that was the other angle I was wanting to go. Was just but I figured that was a different argument.
I would say that this can be either a convince or an insight. Because inciting is also trying to like fill someone with anger towards a third party.
Yeah.
So if you make it a convince roll, that would be the act specialty of bluff, or of deception, excuse me. If you make it an incite roll, that would be the bluff specialty of deception.
So I only have bluff as a specialty, and so insight would be more attractive from that angle. Except that my cunning rank is only 2, and my will is a 3. So the multiplier would be much higher going with a convince.
All right, so convince it is. And let's go ahead and give yourself one bonus die from mentioning like the 1,200 that are arrayed against the Vulture.
Okay.
And actually, add 1 to your total because you also have the fucking Marcher Lord Beric Dondarrion standing right behind you as kind of a symbol of that army that you are leading, because House Dondarrion don't play, and the fact that he's here is kind of an assist almost in and of itself.
I have a 22. Also, see, look, we have a knight from a banner house of a rival to us here as well.
And what was your total? I'm sorry?
22.
22. And your will is 3?
Yes.
All right. Okay. You can see him light up a bit at the mention of an army of 1,200, and a reminder that, like, hey, there's Dornishmen here, there's Stormlanders here. Out of character, you just did about half of his composure in one shot, so it's you're definitely wearing him down. And then Ash is up next.
Right. Oh, I hadn't even started preparing. Yeah.
Actually, real quick, Ash, just did you remember the +1 die, Erica?
I did.
From successfully reading him last. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Go ahead, Ash.
I think I kind of want to address the stuff that he said actually to me, because I kind of feel like it bears acknowledging. That. Well, oh, you know what? Actually, I think I can actually kind of go for immediate. Like, wait, what? She just didn't return. There wasn't evidence of her death, because those two things are quite different. And if it's the former, then there might be hope.
It's a good catch.
Okay. So let's see what to call this.
I have
False
no
hope.
idea what to call that.
Right? And this is where it's kind of weird.
Is it
Let's
a mollify?
say.
No. Mollify isn't
Um,
the action you think it is.
Yeah, I guess maybe like, well, maybe it would have like Adam would maybe start out kind of saying, like, what happened wasn't your fault. Like, it's not your failing as a knight or a husband. Wait, what? You said she just never came back?
It could be like a convinced to not be so hard on himself.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a convince roll. Like,
Sure.
it's gonna have a similar effect to a charm roll.
Right.
But potentially it's also going to, like, help his morale
Sure.
type of thing
Yeah.
if you are correct and able to convince him of a thing that is honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and roll.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, he's not going to say like for definite or anything, but like, yeah, he would have been starting off kind of going like trying to kind of get him to not be so hard on himself and say it wasn't his fault, and then be like, wait, if she was taken by them, she might still be alive.
So, go ahead and roll persuasion convince.
Okay.
what if she joined them?
That was not a very good one. That is 17 with the bonuses.
Alrighty. And with convince, your will was a 3,
3.
right? Okay. So 1 second. All right, that knocks off several more of his.
Wait. It's actually 19 because my disposition has shifted, so I get +3 instead of +1 to persuasion. So it's 19.
Okay, good catch. Still not quite that extra degree.
Oh wow.
But his action is up, and he is going to make a yield action, which is to say it's an offer. You may choose to yield to an opponent, offering a compromise outcome rather than going down to defeat if you wish. You can only yield on your turn, check. Your opponent may then accept, offer a counterproposal, or refuse. If you refuse their counteroffer, intrigue continues and you can't try to yield later on. So yielding is for when it looks like you're going to lose, but you want to kind of pick your fate. So what he's going to do is that hand on the table is going to turn into a fist, and you guys can hear the leather creaking in his like heavy riding gloves. He wasn't all armored up and like plate, but you hear that leather do that cinematic creak. And he goes, "She is gone, and I saw what they left of her." And then he looks at Bela, like leaning across the table, his eyes right into yours. He says, "I will ride with you if you assist me in airing my grievances to Dagos, and I lead the van." So he wants to be in the vanguard and lead the charge when it's time to go after the Vulture King. That's the compromise yield that he is offering. Now, out of character, yeah, just as a reminder, out of character, leading the vanguard is a position of a lot of glory and prominence, and there might be people of much higher rank that are expecting to lead the vanguard. So there could be some social repercussions, probably not like huge ones, but it is kind of expected that normally the highest ranked not general gets that, glory hound position of leading whatever charges are led. So there is potentially a downside here, but Bela's the one that can give that to him, and that is the yield that he is offering. Yeah, what's up, Ash?
Of the currently assembled army, who would that person be? The highest ranking non-general? Would that be Lord Beric?
Because of his age and his position in regard to Edric Dane, it would be Lord Beric. If not, it would probably be Edric Dane, because also it's in Dorne, so he would nominally kind of have a leg up, but because he's an actual adult, and because Edric is like legally subservient to him right now, but yeah, it would be Lord Beric. That's probably, and he's also kind of a glory hound anyway, so
yeah.
it's probably Beric expecting it.
May I confer with Felicia and Erica just for a minute?
That's very specific.
Out of character?
No, it's not private.
Like,
it's okay if not.
Does Bela answer first, or does she notice her younger brother kind of lifting an eyebrow and wanting to?
Ash, when you said our not character names, did you mean you wanted to discuss something out of character or in character?
Yeah, it was out of character. I was meaning.
Okay.
Oh, okay, my bad. I
Yeah.
misunderstood. Sorry. Yeah, continue then. It's out of character thing.
Yeah,
we pause and
yeah, just kind of wanted to just like give a quick thought that I think in the circumstances with what he has lost, and knowing Beric and Edric, I think they would understand if we said yes to this.
Yeah, especially with Beric being present
Even
here.
if they don't understand, they're gonna accept it. They're not gonna argue right here in front of everybody, and I still don't see Beric being all that upset about it. I mean,
yeah, for the record, loss of this position for Beric, and the other thing to consider is that, remember, Sir Edwin is the banner knight of the house that's under attack, so it's a little bit more acceptable for him to be bumped up the ladder a little. In this case, just so Bela can make an informed decision, or rather so Erica can, you will be losing a bonus from Beric Dondarrion if he was leading the charge, but you will not be incurring a penalty. He's not gonna like stop fucking your sister or whatever.
not.
But yeah, just so you can make an informed decision. If Lord Beric is leading the van out of character, he's gonna get a bonus in the big battle. If not, he doesn't, but you're not losing out. Is that making sense?
Yes. All right, I'm ready.
And that is in part because of these extenuating circumstances and the basic decency of Beric Dondarrion, and the fact, honestly, that he's here to hear this guy is going to help. So there won't be, House Dondarrion isn't going to declare war or think less of you, but you will be missing out on a bonus in the big.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for it to be like an in-character conversation. I just kind of
No,
wanted to comment.
It's her call.
Well, I think that was fine because it's stuff that Bela would have been aware of anyhow, and stuff that maybe Erica wasn't aware of, right? So, I'm fine with that kind of being there. Okay, so back in character now.
Right, he's got that counter demand just hanging in the air. There's that tense moment of eye contact, and the world is waiting on Bela Nymaryen's.
Sir Edwin, the fire of vengeance I can see in your eyes. None will dispute the strength that you will lend to our armies. You will be our vanguard. You will lead the vanguard.
All right. Congratulations. We will end this week's episode with Bela adding 1 unit of veteran cavalry with armor and weapon upgrades to your spreadsheet of ass kickery as Wynn's axemen join the battle.
Nice.
So good job. That was actually pretty dope timing too. Like we started a couple minutes late, but just a few. We're wrapping up just a couple minutes late. So there. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that, and hopefully everybody can also kind of see why we're not using it all the time. It makes role playing feel kind of stilted and artificial to me, but when you're trying to make somebody do like a full 180, I do like it. I like that it adds to the game, and that those social and those mental attributes matter, because a lot of those social roles are based on your cunning or your will, or right, some of the other attributes that don't normally do sexy stuff, right? They kind of turn into athletics in a social fight. So in a meta sense, I quite like it. But at the same time, I'm glad I'm not using it every time you guys are trying to have a conversation and get anything from anyone, right? So I'm fine with keeping them in our pocket anytime you guys are making a big thing where the goal is to completely fucking change someone's mind. But that's kind of why we're not leaning them all the time. So there we go.
It's clunky, but I mean it is kind of cool because it does make those stats important, and it's kind of elegant how it hangs, but it's also a clunky elegance.
Yeah.
It slows things down considerably.
Yeah.
I have a hard time remembering. Like I said, I don't remember what was the last thing that was in character. I don't,
Right. But
that flow is really stilted.
and my thing though is like, if you don't use the intrigue rules, how do you play Cersei or Peter Baelish, right? Like if you're never using these attributes for this sort of thing, it completely imbalances the game in a weird way that makes that whole like archetype of schemer, and even to an extent the archetype of leader, obsolete. So I like that they exist. Yep. I like, we're going to use them again, probably, when these sort of situations come up. So don't sleep on some of those attributes, that persuade, that will, that cunning, but yeah, it's one of those things that I also don't want to just fucking freeze up every conversation we ever have in this game. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, as a kind of quasi schemer character, I'm very invested in things that let me do that.
Yeah. So anyways, hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode. We got some pretty solid roleplay in there, and then we had a pretty intense conversation with Sir Edwin Wynn. Yeah, things have not gone well around Wynn Tower lately, but we'll see if bloodying those battle axes make him and his men cheer up in a couple days' time in universe, as he leads the charge of Bela's alliance here, and hopefully we'll see everybody back here in a couple of weeks. The next in-game day, is everybody still leaning on the chase scene?
The armor?
Going after the armored caravan? pulling
Yeah.
some
Think that's
some
fine.
Westerosi Fast and the Furious here. So we'll see everybody back
go
here in
Wolves.
2 weeks, and yeah, we'll see you for some furious action on fast horses. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.